And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to remind everybody hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal button down there for anybody that wants to share some love. All is appreciated. And of course, the StreamYard link is there for anybody that wants to join the panel. And once again, I want to thank all my supporters. We're at 3,600 subscribers now. Appreciate it. And we've got John with us tonight again. How you doing tonight, John?
John's alive and kicking.
There you go. Doing survive down there.
It's all survival up here. I'll tell you, with the way that people drive, and you just got to be in survival mode.
Yeah. What's the weather like now over there?
The weather is very calm, actually. Very, very nice, relaxing day here.
Good deal. Good deal. Always good to hear survivors. I always wonder about people.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm a survivor of the freedom movement. At least I get an award for that.
There you go. There you go. And we're here tonight with the third episode of Tits Out and Balls to the Wall, talking about the insanity. We've got this. The first clip we're going to start with tonight goes to the political venue as how they are trying to instill it in our children in the education system. And this is one of the things that I've been on platform about since the beginning, is the education system itself is a corrupt dichotomy of teachers teaching their own views or using their own views as implementing their own views into their teaching studies with their students to try to give them their own personal perspective. And that's not what our teachers are supposed to be doing. Teachers are supposed to be sticking to a strict curriculum, and here we have them guiding children as if though they are their own children, and they're going to teach them their lifestyle. That's not what school is about. School is not about lifestyle. School is about education. And when we start using education system with teaching staff that uses their lifestyle as part of their teaching tools, it becomes very confusing for the children who are living at home under one lifestyle and being taught a different lifestyle through the school system. And again, this is because of the political realm. So let's take a look at this first one we've got here. And this is the Hodge twins again. They call themselves the conservative twins now. So go check them out, conservative twins. And here we have, my daughter was pulled out of class to register to vote. Now, evidently, there's a first part to this. So you can go check that out. But this here is what I'm talking about with this public education system, folks. This has got to stop. You are literally indoctrinating your own children.
They weren't sworn in as corporate officers. Come on.
Teachers do take an oath, though. They do take an oath. So let's take a look at this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What's going on right here? Man, teachers are actually pulling kids out of class to register them to vote Democrat. Really? Check this video out.
Because I'm pissed right now.
Okay, what's
So yesterday, you pulled my daughter out of class and you told her that it was mandatory for her to vote.
No, I didn't say it was mandatory.
So that's what she told me. These are her words, that she said it was mandatory that she votes.
No, ma'am. But go ahead, finish telling me.
Okay, and that you projected your fears.
And I've got to say, you know, when it comes to these this public education system, I know for a fact that, or firsthand, I should say, firsthand, I know these teachers lie for one reason or another. And I don't care. Again, that's the main premise of my platform against the public education system is that basically they're doing nothing but lying. Yeah, they teach you reading, writing, and arithmetic, but in every other sense. And we're going to see a video here today on math that is just profound. I can't understand where this kind of math came from. But again, the public education system is an indoctrination system and not a truth system. It doesn't tell anybody the truth anywhere. It is based on history, which I am, in my opinion, believe to be nothing but narcissistic views and writings of the victor over the victim.
And insecurities on her, telling her if Donald Trump was elected, Black people would be doomed.
Oh, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. So let me say this. I am a minority inspector for 1016. And you know, as a minority inspector, you never, ever, ever discuss politics or your beliefs or anything like that.
So can we calm my daughter down here? Because at this point, you're making it like she's a complete liar. My daughter had never told me someone said anything such to her like
no,
this.
ma'am. So this is what happened. I did call her down to register to vote.
Okay. So as that supervisor, you're not supposed to be doing so, and then you just admit that you did so.
And you know, as a minority inspector, you never, ever, ever discuss politics or your beliefs or anything like that.
So can we...
As a minority director, you never, ever discuss your beliefs on politics. Yet here you are, you're bringing children down in and telling them they have to register to vote. See, this is not what the schools are for, folks. And yet that's what the diversity, equity, and inclusion is getting to. It's bringing everybody into this venue of insanity, saying you have to participate. No, they don't. If a child wants to register to vote, he makes that decision himself. It is not mandatory, and he doesn't do it at school.
Calm my daughter down here, because at this point, you're making it like she's a complete liar. My daughter had never told me someone said anything such to her like
no,
this.
ma'am. So this is what happened. I did call her down to register to vote because we're registering all the 18-year-olds to vote.
She's not 18. She's...
We're registering all the 18-year-olds to vote. She's not 18. She's 17. Okay? And again, this is what you get when you hand your responsibility of teaching your children over to somebody else. They will start teaching them everything that they know for their purposes. A Democratic teacher does not want Republican students. Republican teachers do not want Democratic students. Yet that's what they're playing in these schools. It's a tug and war with your children in this dichotomy setup of public education, which is nothing but pure indoctrination.
17.
Yeah, but she turns 18 before the election.
Yeah, but I could have took my daughter to register her to vote. I did not ask for y'all to register my daughter to vote.
Correct. When you register your children for school, for the public education system, it has nothing to do with voting. Nothing to do with politics. It's just like a doctor practicing law without a license, or a lawyer practicing medicine without a license. It's not the curriculum that's supposed to be covered, is to teach your children how to vote and what way to vote, to propagandize your children against the parents. For crying out loud, this is a Democratic teacher teaching the students or implementing in the students her Democratic views in her education system and trying to get them to register to vote as Democrats while the parents are Republican. That's a discourse of the family. That's destroying the family. That's one of the base foundations of destruction of the families. I hope you guys understand this.
I have not even spoke to her about the election yet. And I am not a Harris supporter. I am a Trump supporter.
Yes, ma'am.
So for you to tell her anything, and it's like now you're saying she's lying. So now I want her to come down here.
Listen, I'm not saying your daughter's lying. What I'm saying is that I did call her into my office. I did register her to vote. We did have a conversation about it. She did ask me about Trump. She did ask me about Harris. So we started a conversation about, what's going on. I wasn't projecting anything on her. I was just talking about things that are going on in the world.
Yeah, did you tell her about the border being unsecured? Did you tell her about all the illegal criminals that's in this country right now?
So we did have a conversation about the border, and we did talk about the border policies and all of that. We did have a conversation about everything. So let me just say this. I apologize to you.
So again, as a certain officer of this school, and they're not supposed to discuss politics. Here again, she is, after she told this woman that they don't do that. Here she is again discussing the fact that she did. These people will lie to you straight to your face and believe that you didn't see the lie. Wake the fuck up.
For offending you, because that was not my intentions. I was not trying to project any of my political beliefs on your daughter or anything like that.
That's why I don't know why the conversation was had with.
That's why I don't know the conversation was had. You ain't supposed to be talking to my children like that.
Consent forms that I signed saying I was okay with my daughter being registered to vote in school. She's still 17 years old.
So what consent forms were signed for that?
None.
Because there really isn't any. We just register students to vote here. At every high school, they're registering students to vote.
At every high school, they're registering students to vote. I don't think so. Greetings, Jack. How you doing tonight, brother?
Oh, I love you, my friend. Thank you for opening this up and allowing me. I'm long overdue for joining you. And these conversations here, in the thought that comes to my mind is most people, I think, are doing what they think is best. But Keith, there's no denying what you're saying about the systems they pay employees to lie, and this system profits from lies. And state employees, they believe the government is real.
Well, yeah, that's because it is for them. They're the ones, like I said earlier, my companion was a special ed teacher just like Margot. They take an oath. They are state actors. So there's a certain set of regulations that they do, in fact, have to abide by. But those regulations do not include your opinions, folks. And when we start taking our political opinions, like I said, as teachers, and using those as part of our implementation of the curriculum, that's crossing lines. You can't do that.
This is where you said something previously, I don't remember, but I disagreed with. Because to some extent, we want our children to be well informed. We want our children to understand the world that they're being raised in. And, for a teacher to have conversations about their experience with politics, albeit it is theirs, yes, it is out of line, right? But the other side of that is I disagree with the idea of having so much strictness on employees to do their job, particularly in the realm of education. Because some of the people who find themselves on that path, they truly care. They truly care about the kids.
Oh, yeah. And don't get me wrong. I know my companion loves those children. She loved those children as if though they were her own children.
Yeah,
I understand that. But the problem is they don't belong in those schools. Teachers are fine as tutors, but I don't believe they should be going to schools. I think that's one of those responsibilities that parents have given up to the public system, that they should inherently be taking care of themselves first and foremost, is the basic comprehension of teaching their children at the beginning years, so that when they want to go on to a further education, then they can go into an education center when you've already been instilled with the motivation by your parents and had that spiritual context. Then we can set up a school system or send them to a school system where they would learn a trade or something above and beyond the reading, writing, and arithmetics, and leave the political venue completely out of school. That should belong at home with mom and dad with their views, explaining, I've had parents that were, one was Republican and one was Democrat. So it was kind of confusing, but they at least have the ability to do that with their own children. And it's not the indoctrination of a public education system that's not going to teach them the reality of their vote.
Well,
it's like our forefathers, Jack. Our forefathers took all this upon themselves. They didn't have a public education system. So in order to build a nice, healthy, strong nation, they had to be healthy and strong in their own education, and then as well be healthy and strong in being able to teach it to their younger generation. And that had to be strong enough that that young generation took it and had a strong hold of it as well. Today, we have a youthful generation that doesn't have a hold of politics and is going out there to vote for a popularity contest. That's
right. Yes. Well, it's this commercialized world we were born into. It's all corrupted. What you described, the problem of parents, hello, I'm guilty of what you said. My son was raised by the public school system. I was too tired or too distracted or too whatever, to be involved more than I was. And his mother, I don't know what she thinks, but I know she was a pretty proud Republican for a while, her and her new husband.
Yeah. But yeah, politics doesn't belong in schools, folks.
Still not 18. She has until the 21st of October, I believe, to register, and her birthday is on the 5th.
Right. So we are permitted to register all students whose birthday that happens by the 5th, because that's the date of the election. So
her birthday's October 5th, not November 5th. So she.
Yeah, and see, we are allowed to register. No, the fuck you aren't. I don't know where you get the concept that you are allowed to register someone else's child. No one. Mom and dad don't even register the child. The child registers to vote himself when he becomes age of majority. It is not something someone else does for you. Period. This is delusion.
The school could make the case they're simply providing the opportunity for those who are becoming of age, so they don't have to go to the post office or figure out how to do it. It's a convenience. So you're right. It's up to the parents to prepare their children for what's going on.
Right, but let's make sure that the school doesn't take over that, and this is one of the ways they do that. They start allowing teachers to go ahead and register their students. No, that's not the venue. Politics does not belong in the public school system, except as a class on history. Okay, that's it. You don't impose your political views or anything, and that's again why I say that should be something that parents should be bringing their children up in their education at homeschooling first, and then when they get the basics down and they decide what talent they want to follow, then you can enter them into some type of trade school or collegiate guidance. But the public education system we have, starting out at kindergarten, I don't think that's a foundational system we should have. That should be done at home, and then a middle type school can intervene at a certain age where they can go in and take a starting test to make sure mom and dad have taught them the basics of the general math, reading, and arithmetic and all that, or reading, writing, and arithmetic, and then get on to the trade parts, home ec, steel class, shop class, automotive classes, things like that, where they can actually learn a trade. And that would be more feasible, I think. And again, this is just my opinion. Yeah. I've never done it myself, but I think the way the public education system is now, it's tearing up our children and our younger generations.
The downside to what I imagined, not to point out challenges, but for a mom and dad to be able to properly educate and prepare their child, in this society, either single moms, single dads, or even both parents working and no time for preparing, because that's what I was taught.
Well, yeah, and that's because we've got this society that has this cost of living, whereas we're natural beings, and that cost of living has got everybody indoctrinated in believing they have to work so many hours a day and if you have more children, then you got to put in more hours. We really need to get back to a natural living. Greetings, Dino. How you doing? Dino, welcome, brother. Or maybe he stepped away while he was waiting.
No, I'm having some connection troubles. Damn it.
Oh, there he is. Greetings, Dean. How you doing tonight, brother? And we got Kumba with us. How you doing?
Greetings, brother. I didn't see the name in there. I'll fix that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, have you noticed your name?
At Paul Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I do this stuff. The tits out and balls to the walls stuff, the insane stuff is Paul Jr.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad I asked.
No. So let's get back to it. Because politics does not belong in school. Go ahead, Jack.
I wanted to pop back. Reformation of the education system. It's long overdue.
Long overdue. Yes, I agree.
The potentials, though, are so incredible because throughout the years, people have learned better methods of educating and teaching. And really, if we collectively as communities work together to provide the opportunities and support for children to learn what they want, dude, they're coming into the world with solutions. They're more connected to the divine than we are.
Yeah, that's because those are the creators of tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh, we have to understand that children are not stupid, and if we're going to depend upon them when our bodies are 70, 80 years old and need them, then we better instill in them the righteousness that we deserve ourselves. Otherwise, we're raising a heathen younger generation that's going to put us to the streets, and we deserve it.
No disagreement, brother. When I started waking up to the corruption of these governments and corporations, all the systems I've been obeying, I feel shame for what I showed my son. I really did. But, brother, there's a reason you and I are alive today, and everyone else. We're here for a reason, to make a better world.
Yep, and I can only hope the message is heard.
Amen.
He had until the end of October to register to vote. So that way I could have took her as her mother and I could have explained to her what to do to look up both policies without me telling her anything.
Right.
This is just not right.
She was asking me questions, and so I was answering her questions.
Yeah, because she wanted to know why did she have to get pulled out of class to register to vote.
No, she didn't. That wasn't the question she asked me. She was asking me questions.
Y'all talking out here?
She's getting ready to throw another shovel full of dirt on the grave, burying herself. Watch what she admits again.
I didn't know this here.
I can hear gunshots at me.
So now when she said she didn't tell you, the stuff that you told me she told you, that black people will be doomed if Trump becomes president?
Yes, she did. I didn't say black people will be doomed if Trump becomes president. We did have a conversation about policies and different things like that. You were asking me questions and I was telling you about some of the policies that he had and some policies Harris had. So we did have that type of.
So we did have that type of conversation. Again, it was a political conversation. Keep throwing shovels of dirt on there. It's saying that you're this specific officer in the school, you're not supposed to discuss politics, yet you repeatedly admit that you do nothing but discuss politics with this child. Pathetic. Pathetic lies.
I was about to say, I don't think that would be written in the curriculum.
No, it's not.
Well, there are classes regarding world affairs. I can't remember the name of the class I took, but
right, but it's supposed to teach out of the book, not out of their opinions in modern day fear mongering.
Well, the idea is, especially if these kids are about to be 18, they're about to transition into the world that they live in. It's important, I think, they know what's going on, but there is a line between the school employees, the representing the education system. There is a line between that.
I think those conversations, though, I think it should be in a private manner held between the mother and the father and those children, not some third party intervener with their own imagination and set of egos, and it goes on and on and on, you know?
I mean, it could go either way, but where I really did agree with the mom, I don't know that I would have planned or predicted, I can see where mom's making the assumption that on the 18th birthday, we'll go and have this conversation then, and then finding out other people had other plans. That would be frustrating, certainly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to take a moment to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button, folks.
Conversation.
I don't think I was really asking questions. I think I was just really as much as so like, right, yeah, right.
So you was just like agreeing, like talking?
No, I'm like, I don't really care about it. So I'm not really engaged in the conversation as much. I'm just like, okay, like, right.
So you didn't ask me any questions at all?
No.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm going to say. I apologize for raising your daughter to vote. At this point, she is raised to the vote. If you would like to change that.
I am.
I apologize for registering your daughter to vote. Again, admitting that she registered the child to vote and the child didn't register. See, the child is still a child at this point. She's 17 years of age. She can't vote. She can't register to vote. She must have an adult register her to vote if that were the case. But again, that's not the case. You don't register to vote until you are age of majority and you make that decision yourself.
Because it should not have been done in the first place.
If you would like to change, anything that's on that form that went in, you're welcome to do that.
I know that.
You can go online and do it.
I know.
I didn't feel like I was projecting anything on her.
You are by telling her anything that you saying you didn't say.
Well, when you registered to vote, when you registered her to vote, did you register her as a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or otherwise? Because if you did, that was your choice, not hers. Again, the fallacy of somebody registering somebody else to vote, particularly when you're not even qualified with any relation other than an educational certificate that says you're a teacher. You're not a political advisor. You don't have power of attorney to sign documents for that child. Come the fuck on.
Say black people be doomed. She's saying you said it. I'm going to believe my daughter because she would not lie to me about something like this. Why would she lie? Why would she?
Like, I asked if I could do it later. Like, no, it's kind of like, no, you have to do it now. Kind of mandatory. And I'm like, I don't.
Did you feel like I was pressuring you?
Yeah, she said she didn't want to do it at the moment.
She speak to me, honey.
Yeah.
Did you feel like I was pressuring?
Yeah, I asked if I could do it another time, and you're like, no, it's kind of mandatory. I'm like, okay. I didn't really know.
Yeah, she even told her she's only 17 yet. At that point, This adult woman, knowing that you can't register to vote when you're 17, should have stopped.
That was mandatory now.
Haircuts.
Okay. Well, we're going to agree to disagree on this.
Obviously, we're going to agree to disagree. No, I disagree with your disagreement. You had no authority to do anything. I disagree with your entire curriculum now. You are playing a role you are not rightly justified to do so.
Conversation. I apologize if you feel like you were pressured. I apologize for raising your daughter to vote without your consent.
And Hodge twins are absolutely right. This is gaslighting to the most right here. I apologize. No, you don't. You just sat there and said that all schools register children. No, they don't. That's you trying to implement that it already is when it never was, because you want to have that control. You as a teacher, as a democratic teacher, want to bring up your students and register your students as democratic voters. This does not belong in the schools, folks. No way.
And without you having an opportunity to have a conversation with her or even checking anything online. So that's all I can say right now is I apologize.
Yeah, I'm calling the news also.
Okay. Well, thank
you. I'm taking my daughter out of the school. She do not feel comfortable. I'm just completely pissed.
It's just too bad that the girl is 17 years old before they finally take her out of school. See, this is the kind of stuff we should be seeing long before we even send our kids to school, because this has been happening for decades, people.
Stuff right now. I'm pissed.
This is the reason.
So what do you think, guys? It looks like we lost Jack.
Well, that's why I try to talk to my two in Pennsylvania there, because obviously I think probably a little bit about that. Certain things are in my control and out of my control, but the only thing I can do is continue to educate them and to break this down, and so they, hopefully have a shot in the future. But I don't, I have a hard time, Keith, seeing how people don't see that all of these third-party public servants with their public offering of stealing the mindset of our kids, and thinks it's okay to have such pertinent discussions about furthering the movement of life behind the backs in secrecy.
Yeah.
And nobody's outraged with this.
Well, yeah, and that's what I don't understand myself is, these teachers, like I said, they teach these students with the dichotomy of their own perspectives being interjected into their curriculum. And this is not what teachers are taught to do. Your educational certificate for these teachers out there is to teach them a specific curriculum so that everybody gets the same comprehension. No one's ever going to get that same comprehension, but it's developed so everybody can get as close to that same comprehension as reasonably believable and possible.
It's been a subtle thing, though, what the way I see it, because I remember a time when, when I was in high school, even, it was this idea that I know some kids had this closer special relationship with the teachers. Probably to this kind of level that you're talking about now. But back then it was like, it just didn't seem like it was that big of a deal. It was a little more innocent, a little more that they were mentors, that you have this idea. And I think that's gotten, that it's definitely opened the door to come to this.
Also, something I saw not long ago too, Keith, I think I sent it to you I noticed in a little research on the Board of Regents and things at Eastern Kentucky University. Well, before 1966, that was called Eastern State Normal School. And then the curriculums back then was teach the teacher, or the teachers were teaching the students to be teachers.
Correct.
1966, the name of the school changed, and I'm probably almost certain the curriculum changed as well, no longer teaching pupils to go further on and teach, but the indoctrination changed.
Yep.
And then standardized testing. Now teachers are pressured to perform, and a lot of them are cheating to get the result keys.
Well, yeah, they need that federal funding, and that federal funding is part of their salary, their retirement plan. It's a public plan, and so all that funding that comes in is part of their social scores in the tests. So if the school doesn't do good on the testing, then the teachers do the magic number game and pass certain students that may be having issues, and just hopefully next year they'll do a little better with the next teacher and they'll actually catch up. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's the thing about the comprehension. I can explain something to you, but I can't comprehend it for you. And this is the same for every student. Every student has a different level of comprehension according to their own social and spiritual dynamics, their health, their background, their parental background. This is what the statistical record's for that political body, is to determine how much you're worth during your lifetime as an average, normally educated man. Now they're
school was just an ordeal. Yep. All that was an ordeal. It's something I had to deal with and survive, because there were bullies. I was small and scrawny and shy, and I was a target. I had to be very fucking careful out there. And it did shape that whole experience.
Yeah, I would hope you would see that the bullying comes from the school, not from your centralized neighborhoods. Generally, your central neighborhoods, the kids grew up and got along together. It's when they started getting bussed off to different schools and stuff and having to do with these different dichotomies of political realms and stuff. It's the school where all those differences come about, and it's so drastic and becomes a bully situation.
This was a Catholic high school too, no less, of all things.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
there was all kinds of bullying going on, and it was just like, well, the seniors did it, or like they did it to us when we were freshmen. It's like, well, you can still choose to stop it. It's freaking ridiculous. Just because somebody did it to you, you do the same thing to somebody else. I mean, but this was the mentality.
Yeah, some of those religious schools are the worst. So
look how simply they crossed it up and flipped it backwards, because it's to lead, rule, and they're looking at rule to lead.
Yes.
I mean, all right, go back to it, Keith.
So let's get on to the next one. The insanity of women and the thing about this popularity contest and models and the woman's physique and what she's worth in relationships and in society. We've got another one from Whatever, and we're going to take a look at this. These gals are asked to rate themselves on this show on a scale of 1 to 10, and so we're going to take a look at this one and see what they have to say, because it says, do you agree she is a 10? Took her years of therapy to become a delusional 10 of 10. She claims she's a 10. Watch this, folks.
Ask everyone to rate their looks on a scale of 1 to 10.
I will give myself a 10 out of 10. I went through a lot of therapy to get myself to where I feel like I'm a 10 out of 10. So I'm gonna remove myself from this conversation because
This gal is claiming she's a 10 out of 10. Now, you can't see her whole body figure, but you can tell this is a plus size woman. And ain't no man on earth thinks she's a 10. This is delusional, ladies.
I'm not going to let a podcast undo years of therapy. Thank you.
I'm a little confused.
I had a lot of issues with self-esteem, and I worked through them a lot in therapy. And like part of that is like seeing myself a 10 out of 10. So I'm
seeing yourself as a 10 out of 10 when you're not a 10 out of 10 is insanity. You will get the same results day in and day out by not realizing that you are lying to yourself. Go ahead, Dean.
Well, this is the whole thing's subjective. This is subjective situation that we're talking about. So maybe she's a 10 to somebody. I mean, really, I get your point, but I'm also kind of just throwing out this idea that what we're talking about is very relative. You know, I've seen men with women that I wouldn't have been attracted to, but these women get these guys, and obviously there's something there. So I'm just saying it's
well, yeah, and that's why I say we've got to get rid of this popularity contest and this Barbie doll Ken look and attitude, particularly in the modern day and age where we see all these obese men and women. You know, there are,
definitely an issue and a problem. Holy cow!
And I see where you can see that as, you know, the guy that weighs, you know, he's 6 foot and weighs 300 pounds. He probably sees her as a 10-2 in his world because he can't get anything better than that because of that, you know, and that's one of those subjective things that we have to look at. I agree. But the fact is that people today are so obese and rotund. I don't think that's the natural shape of man.
No. I get you. When it comes to females, the hourglass shape, and it doesn't matter how skinny a girl thinks she is and how she thinks she has no boobs, she still has that hourglass shape. So I still say you can work with that. I mean, that works for me. But when they get so big, that hourglass goes away and it's not there. And I've known women like that. And it's like, you know, sorry, I'm just not going to be attracted to you because you don't attract me. I'm just going to be honest. I've always been honest with them. They didn't like it, but what are you going to do?
Yep. And that's why I say, you know, we really have to start digging into the reality of what our spirituality is instead of the manual physical appearances and stuff. They are so much less pertinent when it comes to the reality that this gal sitting here on this screen, she could look beautiful as she is today, but be one of the greatest heathens out there. You have to quit being deceived by looks. And I'm not saying being deceived by looks means every pretty woman is a heathen. No, I'm saying that you have to look at these people and see their spirituality. It may be a very rotund woman that professes that she's a 10 out of 10 and has a great spirituality that another man could see that, okay, yeah, I agree, she's a 10 out of 10 because of something else. So we have to use that same discernment when looking at these beautiful women and wanting to be with these beautiful women and lusting after these beautiful women. There's much more to life than just the hourglass shape.
Yeah, but you know, good luck with that to the younger man. Let's be honest. When we were in our younger days, we all struggled with that. We all went through a little bit of that. I mean, we were designed that way on some level. I mean, I didn't come out wanting, you know, wanting to chase women and like you just said, but I remember feeling that way. I remember that being a very big part of life.
And but I think that comes down to being able to govern, and I think that's the thing that we're missing in our education with this public education system, and mom and dad not dealing with it. If mom and dad took over that part of it and educated their children in that first beginnings, when our children go out and start looking for a mate, they would be able to have that patience and discernment to wait. Instead, we have this younger generation that wants to get out there so early that it's before high school, they're out there having sex.
Well, I'll tell you though, my parents were incapable of teaching exactly what you just did. They were broken people themselves. So we probably have generations of broken people having broken children, having broken child. I mean, I hear you. It was a hard thing to deal with.
I'm sure that's been happening all over the world. But, you know, you look at some of the things that some of these families are teaching their children, telling their daughters to grow up, find them a rich man, and it's all about the money, and the same thing with their young boys. Find you a sugar mama, find you somebody that's got money. And I mean, and these people they voted for all this shit.
Yep. Well, part of the problem with people telling their children, hey, find yourself a woman with good money or find yourself a man with good money, they're instilling a failure type attitude of their children. They don't believe their children are the successful ones, so they've got to go out and look for one that is successful because they're not. And that's
Correct.
the problem. People aren't, as parents, understanding what they're doing to their children is destroying them when you send them out there with that mentality.
Yeah, but the society hasn't made it easy. I mean, it's expensive. That's why they did it. I mean, you've got both parents out there working, so they can't be there for the children. They can't be there to raise them.
Right, and that's that thing I was talking about earlier. We've been induced into this cost of living.
Right. Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I think back in the day, Keith, it wasn't called parenting way back in the day, was it?
No, it was called raising a
teaching
family.
you right from right and wrong.
It was called
And they thought homeschooling took a big deal. I remember thinking homeschooling, you had to have a degree to do it with your children. But now I look back and think that was bullshit. Anybody can homeschool. Fuck you. You don't need to deal with these public indoctrination systems. You don't want to. Right. And it's the smartest thing not to deal with them.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is, the education system slowly indoctrinates one generation. Now that generation grows up, has children, put their children in that same education center, and now they can't teach their own children, and the children to come out and they're indoctrinated too, and mom and dad can't tell the difference, so they can't guide them in what's right or wrong.
And yeah, wasn't it a Nazi a long time ago that said, "Give me one generation and I'll change a country" or something along those lines?
Yep, absolutely.
So just to be clear, if you were to engage in this conversation and on this podcast, it would totally be catastrophic to years and years of therapy.
Like, to me, I think I'm a 10 out of 10, and that's all I need to say about that.
If therapy is actually...
In other words, she can't handle admitting to the truth and reality that she's not a 10. This is the deepest set of and this is the woman that has a degree in social sciences, I believe. This is just insane that somebody would believe that they can dismiss the reality, claim a 10 out of 10, and continue on in life and blame it on everybody else if they disagree with her and bust that bubble that she's not a 10 out of 10. That's how butthurt these people get. You can't live your life in a delusion like that, people. This is idiotic. Insanity.
Actually effective. How would having a conversation undo years and years of therapy?
Didn't I tell you I don't want to talk about this because of my mental health? Like, I'm going to draw a boundary here and move on.
So she's got mental health issues and she's a 10 out of 10. Wait a minute, something's not adding up right now.
Exactly. She's adhering to a 10 out of 10 Barbie doll, Ken doll situation, saying she's the 10 out of 10, knowing that it's not real and that it cannot be discussed any further, because if it is, and she has to reconcile that she is not a 10 out of 10, the only one it hurts is her.
The argument, though, or the opposite point of that is there's nothing wrong with her loving herself. Even if she's delusional to that level,
Correct. If you want to love yourself and show that you love yourself, the first thing you do in doing so is show that you are true to yourself. In being true to yourself, you have to admit to certain objective realities. And that's what these people don't want to do.
There it is.
It took a long time to get to that, though, because people used to tell me, Dean, your body's a temple. And I've had this dis-ease since I was 15. And I had to argue, no, my body's a testing ground at best, based on this shit I got to deal with. I'm sticking needles in myself all the time just to live. That's not a fucking temple. There's a problem there. And I don't know where that came from, but it had to have come from my creator. I had to accept I was brought into this world with this ability to live, basically.
Yep.
So what do you do with that? So it took a long time to understand that. But at the same time, because of that, I did treat my body better. And I don't have these similar issues. Like, I don't have weight issues because I'm not overweight.
Yep, and that's one of the things we've got to learn is
that's probably right when the man started to care. When
Yeah.
you started those behaviors and started caring about yourself. And
same here with this lung cancer. It wasn't
Absolutely.
until I got lung cancer that I decided, whoops, it's time that I better straighten up my diet and start fixing things. And it's still scary to this day, you know. That cancer situation is something that you hear these horror stories where even though people have digressed from it and seem to be on this path of recovery, and then all of a sudden it comes back again a year later. So it is a situation that you have to understand. It's nobody else's responsibility. It's yours. You have to be the one that takes care of that temple. And again, it goes to that knowledge. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and a lot of that misinformation is put out by the medical society. I don't care who the fuck says what. Those are synthetic medications. And that is misinformation in regards to taking care of your body naturally.
Oh, dude, it goes so much deeper than that. I can't tell you how many alleged professionals that would tell me shit that I knew was categorically wrong about my condition. They were just so ignorant about what I have to deal with on a regular basis just because they were based on their training, and they don't know what it's like to live on a day-to-day sort of thing. And
absolutely.
It's a big problem.
And that's the sad thing about it is, I mean, that's all the cutting corners. When these people are vindictively keeping things from you to profit off of that, they're no different than the painting contractor that is watering down the 5-gallon bucket of paint and charging you full price.
Exactly. And actually, that was where I got very lucky at a young age. I got a good doctor. He sat me down. He said, Dean, you can do this yourself. And here's how it works. Here's how what you're taking works. Here's how the food works with what, and he laid it all out. And it basically has saved my life. It's what I still use today.
So I think most of these people are chasing the dollar and the luxuries of that instead of the actual compassion and care of one another. I don't give a shit about nobody. Most people that I've seen, but I see changes too, though.
It's actually gotten worse for people that have the same problem I have. Is they've got them convinced they need these analog insulins that cost them hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. You know, you've seen these things online. These people are saying they're $700-800 a month for their insulin because the doctors are convincing them they need these special insulins. But the same stuff you can get at Walmart for $25 a bottle will keep you alive with the same condition. And you can afford that. That's much more affordable, even though we shouldn't even have to afford it because we need it to survive. Without it, we die. So there's a whole fucked up system there. But yeah, they've made it worse. I've met people who thought that the cheaper stuff was for dogs. They're convinced they've got to pay these hundreds of dollars every month just to survive on this stuff that you can get for $25 a bottle if you just understand what you're doing. It's really crazy.
Yeah, and it's amazing how few people will take upon that thing of instituting that knowledge in themselves. That's why I say, again, my platform against this public education system is vehement for a reason. We have to start instilling in our children not just an education, but the principle of continuous learning throughout our entire lives. We've got a public education system that indoctrinates us to remember things so that one day we can sit back and do nothing. That's bullshit. So
I think that's kind of where we all kind of fell short throughout history, was becoming and laying stagnant and not continuing full speed ahead to fulfill that will to live out that legacy.
Yep. And that's why, again, I think it's so important that we as parents start taking over that responsibility again, because that's the inherent foundation of letting your legacy extend from your family. By sending your children off to school at fucking 4 or 5 years old, you're destroying that, in my opinion. Anyway, let's look at another one of these wonderful policy enforcers.
No, I'm going to hold my phone. I am going to hold my phone because I have my rights. My mom worked for the sheriff's department. She still works. So I don't care. Do you hear this? Do you see this?
I do not care. I do not want you to have that phone in your hand.
I do not want you to have that phone in your hand. Of course not. You're a fucking coward. You approached a passenger in a car, which you're not supposed to. If it's a traffic stop, you deal with the driver. So now here he is demanding ID and telling the passenger she has to put the camera down. No, she doesn't.
That's far more like a tyrant than a coward, but sure.
Yes.
But that too.
Yes. This is a beta cuck tyrant. And in his cowardly practice, he is telling people that he does not want them to have their phone in their hand because he's scared it might hurt him. No, if it's going to hurt you, it's because of your own actions that it captures on that video. You hurt yourself in your actions, folks.
Because he's public. He's in public.
That's when I think the chief ought to call these guys in and fire them, Johnny, right on the spot.
Yep.
Absolutely. Right on the spot.
And I am with you on that because the First Amendment is a basic foundation that every last one of these cocksuckers should have, down to a T, that it is not without a question.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt, a violation to even request them to put the phone down. That is an attempt, an intent to violate their First Amendment. You have no right to even ask them.
How is that an attempt? I think that's a done deal. He's already violated by even mentioning that. He's violated her rights to make her even suggest she can't even do it. That's what he's done. That's already he's gone over the line already.
Absolutely.
I viewed 15 seconds of that video, and what I see that gentleman has under his oath in that public offering is nothing but orders and control.
Yep.
So he should be fired immediately. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I think that would set a huge precedent all around the world.
Yeah, I think the First Amendment and what Dean just said, as far as they're not even supposed to be requesting that, that is so fundamentally the base foundation of the First Amendment that I don't see any reason that, I agree with Russ. He should be fired immediately.
Well, if you don't mind, let's take it even a little further. When he comes up and says, well, we're just having a consensual conversation, right? We're just talking, right? No, your intent is to fish and hook me up, motherfucker.
Correct.
You should be. So you don't have any good intentions, and you do not have any good faith of any good intentions right now.
Right.
And he's there as an authority. He's there as somebody that thinks he has a right to start pushing people around and telling them this shit. I mean,
that's where I probably would disagree with you, Dean, because I think that would be at the point right there where the individual that's telling this gentleman that would be stepping up and in that authority.
Right. And you notice, again, this is a traffic stop. So they've already approached the driver. And again, it's with that First Amendment, the same thing. They don't even have any reason to approach the passenger or ask anything of the passenger. So again, it's fundamental. And he's not only just doing that, but he's then turning around and saying, well, you got to put the camera down too. No.
Well,
I'm going to have it in my hand. I'm going to have my hands up. You're going to see them. I'm cooperating with you. I'm going to get out of the car. No, that's not what's going to be used for. It's going to be used for my rights.
I'm telling you to put that phone.
I'm not putting the phone down.
If you not put the phone down, I will take that phone out of your hands.
That's a threat. That's an unlawful threat. If you do not put that phone down, I will take that from you. That is a threat of burglary. He has to go into the. Yeah,
that's not assault.
Well, it's burglary. It's burglary and assault and battery because he has to enter the car in order to take it. In taking it, he has to assault her. That means he's battering, and in so doing, that's robbery.
That's big time trouble. It should be anyway.
You understand that?
You have no right.
Where does this anger come from?
You see that? Assault, battery, burglary.
Right.
All in one shot. Stuck his hand into that car, took a lady's phone out of her hand. Assault, burglary, robbery.
Not a single one of us could get away with that and have any excuse, and neither should he.
Nope.
Come from. I actually had to skip a little part of that because he says, I don't give a F where your mother works for. I don't want YouTube to take it down, and I know the pastor watches this, so I had to edit it. Same old spiel. That phone could be a weapon. Officer safety. Nonsense. Does it ever occur to psycho cops like this that they are proving on camera why they need to be recorded?
And though this is Detective Matt Thornton, and you might think him such a decent guy and everything, what I want to point out here, he does a good job on these videos, and he makes some pertinent points, and people can catch them. But what some people don't catch is when he says something about censoring in YouTube. And so he clipped it out. Fuck, 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 fuck. Censor me, YouTube. Fuck you. Okay? So again, they're trying to instill this fear about being able to express your First Amendment. Okay? Don't let them do that.
Did I tell you,
guys?
Absolutely. Keith, did I share with you that they YouTube took down my cotton picker channel? And I didn't even know it because it's not even really a channel. There's nothing on there. It's just basically, backups or whatnot. And sometimes I'll go in and comment on them where I'm blocked or whatnot. But I was going through my email and saw it. So I just, thank God it was in time for an appeal. I still had time for an appeal. And I appealed it. And I said, not aware of anything like that. Please provide me the evidence you used in claiming your authority to block my First Amendment free speech on this platform. I look forward to hear from you. Hell, it was back up in about 2 hours.
Yep. Absolutely. Mention the violation, First Amendment violation.
Absolutely. I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry, I'm not aware of that. Please provide the evidence that you used to claim your authority and take it down, blah, 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 blah.
And see, when it comes to creator content, they would have to be able to evade or avoid Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, where the Congress is the one that helps provide the protections of creator content, the authors and inventors of their original works. This is an original work. Just because I'm reviewing other works doesn't mean it's not my original work of review. And so in that, they have no authority from me. From me. They didn't have a first-hand consensual conversation with me. And if they have no evidence that I myself violated the First Amendment, then they can't use the First Amendment as a reason to take down my postings. Period.
Well, couldn't we also use, Keith, in the same, I guess it'd be in the same aspect as that, because obviously, a lot of these guys say First Amendment auditors and all of this, and you got your auditors office and all of that shit. But really, couldn't people just review everybody else's shit and give an audit report of what they believe to be factual and not factual within their report of the audit?
Well, that comes down to the intelligence of the people, the intellect, the comprehension of the people. And again, that's truly, Russ is hitting on the main support nail of this whole construction is the people. The people are the ones that are supposed to have that ability, that cognitive ability to have oversight and do those reviews of their government.
Well, once it's out in public, or if you know it's a public thing, then of course you have a right to do whatever you want with it and use it as part of your original content.
Let's say, for instance, we run across that video a minute ago. Keith and I agreed on the gentleman should be fired immediately. As soon as a member of the public that these people work for, and we review some of these files and we see that, we should be able to call in, set it up, out of there. Either try to correct it or get rid of it.
You could, and that would just involve making the complaint, and then when the complaint gets ignored, then you get them for misprision of felony, basically.
Well, and in those reports and stuff, that what you're looking at is a review of the news media, not just the dispatch and the internal recording, but the news media. And again, that's why I urge, it's the people's responsibility to maintain that oversight ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have these people pushing this First Amendment audit stuff.
Well, I think it'd be safe to say that the people are the vital organs within the political body called government.
Correct.
Well, they know it, and it's in their writing, and it's in the writing when it says that all political power is inherent in the people. That's exactly what I just heard you say, pretty much.
Absolutely. So let's look at this next one. This is another Only Girls fan on whatever. Getting roasted, it says.
To comprehend. That's why you're in sex work, because you can't offer value in the marketplace.
What the
Don't worry, I'm not really talking to you. I'm speaking against you as a symbol.
A symbol of what?
A symbol of a declining society where people
Gotcha.
lack values.
See, this goes to the employment arena where this gal doesn't want to get a regular 9-to-5 job or a burger joint job or something, because she wants to make more, and she knows she can do that on OnlyFans. Well, the distinct difference between flipping burgers and OnlyFans is the sexual particulars. So again, it's a popularity contest of being a Barbie or a Ken and flinging money around and acting all hedonistic.
Well, but it's also the internet that's allowed these people to get famous and make this kind of money, because you're not going to do as well working a burger flipping job. You're not going to be able to afford your own place and afford a car and the insurance and all the other shit this fucking society throws at people to afford. It's not even feasible anymore these days. So this is also driving people to this kind of work, if you will, to just flash their tits to get paid. Why wouldn't you? I mean, why would you struggle if you didn't have to?
Well, and another one of the effects is that people that don't have the money to pay for that $15 burger now, because see, the burger joints and restaurants and stuff, they're all trying to keep up with this stuff. Now that they have more women making this kind of money and more people making this kind of money on the internet and stuff, they have more money to spend. So they're going to get that class of people by raising those products. And the class of people that's not going to partake in it are the ones that are going back to the natural lifestyles and stuff. The ones that are avoiding the monetary system and finding different ways and means naturally. This is creating two distinctly different classes of people, not persons, people. We now have people that are realizing the truth in such a great respect that they're going back to that natural living. They're creating those communities again. They are rising. So pay attention. But let's get back to this, because he's going on and says, if you had an IQ.
If you had IQ and skills to offer to the marketplace, you can earn a good income. Being that the most valuable thing about you is something that you never earned. You didn't earn knowledge. You didn't earn skills. It's your breast that you paid for and your butthole. So you market that to earn money, which is to say, if I took your brain and placed your brain into a man's body, you would be in poverty.
I'm just good for nothing. Yep, you caught me.
No.
And it's not that she's not good for anything. It's because, like I mentioned earlier, the continuous learning throughout life. They think that, okay, now I've got a money bag. I don't have to do anything else but this. And they contemplate nothing else in life. And they get centered on their breasts and their butthole, like this guy says. Well, what do you think is going to happen to all that money once those breasts are sagging and the butthole is loose? You think you're still going to be an OnlyFans? You think that money is going to still keep dripping in?
They taint won't be around no more.
Nope.
You are good for something. That's why you have OnlyFans. And that's my point, is that that's what you're good for. A lot of things will be hard for you to comprehend.
See, and a lot of these women, if you watch whatever one time, a few times, you'll find out there's a couple of sets of questions that they like to ask them. And one of them is to grade themselves on a scale of 1 to 10. Another one is to ask them, well, do you think you'll look better in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And you'll hear delusional women saying, yes, yes, yes. When I'm 60, I'll be better looking than I was at 20. You fucking lie to yourself so bad. That's your problem. You've got to stop lying to yourself. So let's look at the next one. How banks are stealing money from you every day. Pay attention, folks.
What was the most amount of money that you made in a single year?
$600 million.
$600 million. And what happened that year that you did 600?
Sold a business.
You sold a business. How much did you sell the company for?
$600 million.
Have you ever been broke before?
Oh yeah, I went broke because the state of Texas, who I had a contract with, refused to pay me and filed a sovereign immunity against me and stole $30 million of my money. Would never do business with the state.
So the state of Texas, did you hear that, Dean? Russ? John?
I did. I actually read something about some of that.
A sovereign immunity case. How does the state push a sovereign immunity case? See, they're the ones claiming sovereignty as a corporate fiction. You can't have sovereignty.
Well, I think people will be quite surprised to see the difference in the difference of the sovereignties versus the monarchies and everything else.
Absolutely.
We don't even. I don't even think most folks have a clue of really what's going on here.
No.
I mean, it's quite disturbing where I'm at in my research right now. You know, you ever heard of broad money?
Oh yeah.
It's just crazy. I'll let you get back to it.
So we get into it again, and this is where it's gonna catch your attention, folks. Pay attention here.
State of Texas again. If you're an attorney, you know about this.
But let's say you're in a negotiation, you're at the table with that person, and it's not going your way. What's your best sales and negotiation advice for anybody in business?
I'm going to answer the question like I would handle it. If I had a client, I was trying to get him as a customer, and it was very difficult, I'd get up and walk away. I would fire that customer.
What are you doing out here in Las Vegas?
I'm at the Co-Create conference.
What's a lesson about money that banks don't want people to know?
That they're stealing from you every day.
What do you mean by that?
Oh my God. Every time they take money from you, they borrow money from the feds at 0. They sell it to you at 10%. Then they tell you you're not qualified because you don't make enough money.
What was the most amount?
Did you hear that? And part of that scheme is that when they go to the window to borrow that money, they're borrowing it in your name. So whose credit is it?
Supposedly they invest it too. I don't know if that's true, but
well,
yeah.
I would like to have some deeper conversations on that at another time. I don't want to interrupt your stream here, but that's what I was kind of hitting at when I hit you up on Messenger with some stuff that I've run across.
Well, the basics here, guys. Excuse me. The basics here is that when you go to the bank and you get a loan, you sign that documentation. That name on that documentation is your name. And they take that to the federal discount window, and they access the account with that name and that number. You gave them the Social Security number too, right? So they access that account, and they access the credit side. Now, the credit side is you borrow $500,000, okay? They go to the federal discount window, and they've got to leave $50,000 in the account. So they've got $450,000 they can go to the discount window with. They go to the discount window with $450,000, and the discount gives them $4.5 million to invest. And in the investment, the turnaround in a 90-day investment should give them that 10%, that $50,000 back. So now they're square with the table. They've got their money, and they give you the money that you believe you're borrowing, and they claim that as well in a cloned account, and it sits there for them as an asset while you sit there and make monthly installment payments on an interest. That loan was paid off when you signed that document. You just didn't sign it in the right qualification to let them know the routing. Because that's what they did when they went to the discount window, is they rerouted it because you didn't give them a direct routing. That's as simple as it gets.
Have you had any success with any communications with them in processing that paperwork properly?
I've not taken out any bank loans.
No.
Not since I was young and got my first car. My mom and dad co-signed for me.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So Keith, they're doing that without like a POA or any authorization, like Form 89. That's amazing.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, it's all done under an assumption that when you sign that document, you're signing over a power of attorney to the bank, and they, as a private banker, then get to go in and do all the work for you, but they get to use their name. Because in that documentation, you sold over rights, titles, and interest to the name. So now they get to, in an imperfect usufruct, they get to use an imperfect name, and they get to do so in their name. Does that make sense?
So
no, but I mean, I'm just kidding. It's just all screwed up.
Well, that comes to a new word that I was kind of interregnum. Have you heard that word, Keith? Interregnum, which is an internal between two range, literally between, and that's what they're doing. They're going between.
Right.
And you're entering reg numbers.
Right. And Tribe says it down here. Banks don't loan. They purchase securities.
Yep.
So when you sign that document, what you did was, like I said, you sold off your rights, titles, and interests on that paperwork. You didn't clarify that it wasn't a sales agreement, but rather a credit agreement. And then sign it with...
But that gives them no right to go do it, Keith, just because we didn't qualify.
See, that's where I have the issue with it. It wasn't done in good faith, so I don't think it should be upheld, and anybody involved in it should be sitting behind bars right now.
But that's the distinction between a savings agreement, or a sales agreement, and a credit agreement. When you make sure that you know what you're doing when you go into it, when you sign that documentation, you make sure it's understood somewhere, that you make an addendum to it or a line item veto and write it in on the document that it's a credit agreement, that you're not buying or selling anything, but merely you are the creditor extending credit so the exchange can be made. The credit remains in the system.
Yeah, that would make it very clear.
So the next one we got is a gold digger. Again, this goes to the women that think there's a certain lifestyle that they're privileged to.
So today it is my husband's funeral.
Funeral? I'm sorry for your loss, but girl, why you out there suns out, buns out? You need to be getting ready.
Unfortunately, I cannot make because obviously I am busy here in Tunisia.
Ain't like you out there protesting human rights, girl. You at the beach tanning.
I would have loved to have gone. We were together for 17 years.
Beautiful.
Unfortunately for me, he did decide to die on the week I had planned to come on holiday. So
he decided to die. That's not what he decided, dear. And you were together for 17 years. And because you're on vacation, he decided to die while you're on vacation. And obviously you can't make it then. No, what that is obvious is that you have different priorities than what you set forth in your matrimonial adhesion contract to this man to honor him until death do you part. And yet here he died. And as soon as he died, okay, now you parted. You're leaving everything else up to everybody else and having nothing to do with the very end moments of his life. How pathetic.
It's almost unbelievable, that there's such a lack of compassion in the world.
I can't believe she actually posted this on social media.
That's why
embarrassing.
It is.
Ladies, you should be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed as a man that we have women in this world today that men haven't kept upright and in good standing, that they think they can live their lives out off the advantages of a man and then say fuck him when he dies. They're here to have fun. This is the epitome of hedonistic living. I'm telling you, this nation is at its end. Every nation in history that was successful turned to hedonism. If you don't see the mass hedonism influxed in today's modern society, I don't know what's wrong with you. People are out here living their lives for nothing but fun, and they don't give one fuck about another, even their companions. This is damn near sadistic level bullshit.
There's the whole foundation right there.
I did make the decision not to go.
Say what now?
I need a holiday at the end of the day, and my holiday is way more important than sitting in a church watching people cry. I would love to give him a good send-off, so I'm going to get absolutely drunk tonight with this new guy that I met.
I know this.
I'm going to get absolutely drunk tonight with this new guy I met. And that's how she's going to honor her old partner, is to remain in her hedonistic ways because he was blind to it. This is pathetic. This is the nature of people today. It's sickening.
I'm going to raise a glass for you, Jeremy, because you were an amazing husband, very rich.
Amazing husband, very rich. That's what was so amazing, was that he was very rich. And that's why she's on this vacation, because it wasn't her money, but his.
I can't wait to do the will reading when I'm home.
You going to do the what?
I have made sure I'm going to be home in time to do the will reading, because I would not miss that for the world. Because
I would not miss that for the world, because of course what?
Obviously, I am due to get a lot of money.
So money.
Because I'm due to get a lot of money. A lot of money. She's due to get a lot of cocks. Because she's going to spend some time now searching for another rich man. Because she ain't rich enough yet.
So in other words, what you're saying, she's going to be taking in an awful lot of deposits.
Yes.
Well, let's hope she don't look like a porcupine afterwards.
On both ends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is sickening.
Is more important than 17 years of marriage with a man that you was married to that was good to you.
That's a very, very important thing to me. So I hope you have a good funeral stay, Jeremy. Love you. Mwah.
Jeremy gonna haunt your ass.
Good things have to come to an end.
She take my money.
Yeah, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be haunting her ass. So let's take a look at the next one. This one says all her co-workers already knew about her.
What to do.
Another one of those cop videos, and I don't know how clear you can see this. I know it's a smaller one, but the picture you see on the screen is a woman, folks. This is a woman. Do not be confused. Women, you want to be men? Is this really what you want? This makes me sick.
Yes, I do. No, you don't. Why are you yelling at me?
Because I have every right to right now.
What's your badge number?
I have every right to right now. See, I don't give a fuck what kind of rights you think you have while you wear that goddamn clown suit. You have an obligation.
Number
321 Guerrero, G-U-E-R-R-I. Make sure you spell it right.
If you're this scared of a guy in a swimsuit,
I've been here for 20 years.
You're terrified of a guy in a swimsuit. I didn't do anything.
Been here for 20 years. I wonder if she started out acting like that for 20 years. Did she? I'm sure she was looking like that 20 years ago. Maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit thinner. You know, that uniform that she's in, she seems a lot thicker and a lot broader than the guy she's standing next to. Okay. But if this has been going on for 20 years, this is insanity.
You can shut your mouth.
They just detained me. I explained. There's no guns. That guy
I don't
has a gun.
detain anybody for no reason.
Then what reason?
Because I told
What crime did I commit for you to detain
shut your mouth so I can explain it to
Are you in charge of this lady?
I will fucking guarantee you that this is the type of cop who's been like this since the moment she realized she has authority and no one's going to stop her. She's the type of person who makes the sexual innuendo jokes at work, even though it's against policy. But if you do, she's going to file a complaint because she's LGBTQ. Absolutely guarantee you command staff knew about her and her behavior, and she's always had an attitude problem, but they were afraid to discipline her because she would then file a fucking harassment suit against them for discrimination. This is just more proof. Female cops are a liability.
And that's what I'm talking about with the diversity, equity, inclusion, guys. With the diversity, equity, inclusion, they know that they're open to lawsuits. But at the same time, I want you to understand the other opposing side is that these people hiring these diversity, equity, inclusion people, the ones that actually know what they're doing up there, those diversity, equity, inclusion people are the ones that are going to get thrown under the bus. As we see here, the police officer was fired and sued for $1 million. Insane people like this are the ones that are going to get thrown under the bus. And I don't know how she lasted 20 years. This woman should have, behaving like this, she should have been thrown under that bus many years ago. Let's take a look at the next one. For patience or profit. This is those 5150s that they put out on people to put them in these mental institutions to give them a competency evaluation. And again, one of the reasons I urge you to teach your children and learn how to continue teaching yourself, continuously learning throughout your life in areas that you wouldn't normally, because it's going to come one day where somebody might just knock on your door. And in your cognitive dissonance, you're sitting there watching the boob tube and somebody else's dramatic or comedic life, because yours is so highly evolved that you get to do so. And then when the lights and sirens sound, you look out the door and you see them down the street arresting people. That happens day in and day out. When do you think they're going to come to your door? Oh, while you believe that all these other people are committing crimes. No, they were doing the same thing. They were sitting on the couch watching the boob tube of somebody else's life, eating the processed foods and drinking the poisonous drinks. And then when they saw the lights and sirens, they too looked out and saw them arresting people. But they did the same thing you're doing. Go right back to your couch and do the same goddamn thing. They're going to come for you one day. They don't need an excuse. They need everybody under their control. So one day they will come.
They need you to serve and worship them.
It makes sense for me to be brought to that facility and not to have been very quickly released.
She says she was stuck in a Pasco County mental health facility for 7 days. And she believes that money, not medicine, was the reason she was kept there.
8 on your side, investigator Brittany Mueller joins us in studio live tonight. Brittany, the patient says this all started with a prescription problem. Is that right?
Stacey Keith, that is right. Catherine McKenzie says she needed her medication adjusted, but a trip to a local ER turned into a 7-day stay at North Tampa Behavioral Health Hospital in Wesley Chapel. The company that owns the hospital tells 8 on your side they never make decisions for financial reasons. McKenzie doesn't believe it. Catherine McKenzie says the very sight of North Tampa Behavioral Health Hospital brings back terrible memories.
The perception of the outside, it almost looks like a resort. And on the inside, it's the total opposite. Takari.
In August 2020, the veteran social worker had just moved to Tampa Bay to take on a new job. Mackenzie suffers from bipolar disorder, but says the condition was well regulated for years with the right prescriptions. She says she was having an issue with her medication and didn't yet have a local psychiatrist to consult. So she went to a Pasco County ER for help. The staff referred her to another local facility instead.
Because I was just continuously being told that it was not a Baker Act. And then I did go into the transport and was taken to another facility.
Mackenzie was transported to North Tampa Behavioral Health Hospital in Wesley Chapel off State Road 56. She says she told the hospital's intake staff that she was not suicidal and that she had even been at work earlier that same day without any problems. Despite that, she was admitted. Her stay soon stretched into the next day and the next, into 7 days that Mackenzie says she was held at the hospital against her will.
And you said that you weren't in crisis, though. So why were you being held in this facility?
We strongly feel that my insurance was the primary purpose. To continue my stay.
Records show the hospital billed Mackenzie's insurance $2,300 per day. And while her insurance paid the bill, Mackenzie paid a price too. She says she was just 4 weeks away from being vested with the state of Florida, but lost her job because of her week at the hospital.
At the end of of the day, it came out to be over $13,000 that they got out of the week.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, ma'am.
On top of missing work.
I lost my job.
Court records show that Mackenzie was released after her family hired an attorney, that a judge hearing her case ordered the hospital to discharge her immediately. North Tampa Behavioral Health Hospital is owned by Acadia Healthcare. A recent investigation by the New York Times found that the Tennessee-based company operates more than 50 psychiatric hospitals nationwide and raised questions about the reasons that patients were held. The for-profit mental health chain is currently valued at $7 billion. Mackenzie later sued Acadia for false imprisonment. A confidential settlement was reached last year, but she says that memories of her stay still haunt her. 8 on Your Side wanted to ask Acadia about Mackenzie's allegations. A spokesperson told us the company does not comment on patient treatment due to privacy regulations, but they shared this statement with us, reading in part. Decisions on patient care, including how long treatment may be necessary, are never business decisions. They are medical decisions made by licensed physicians and care clinicians in accredited, regulated healthcare facilities based on medical necessity and associated legal requirements. Mackenzie disagrees.
I think that they were doing the best they could to paint a picture of a need that just didn't exist.
Do you believe that this facility should still be operating?
Absolutely not.
Are you afraid to get help now?
Absolutely.
My apologies. I didn't see I was on mute. This is all with RICO. This is these contracts, the insurance contracts, the legal requirements that are regulated healthcare facilities based on medical necessity and associated legal requirements. Those legal requirements are the commercial requirements, the contracts, insurances, all of that, the taxes, everything that cover the institutions, bedding and transportations and things like that of their patients. It's always a commercial necessity first and foremost.
Mackenzie disagrees.
I think that they were doing the best they could to paint a picture of a need that just didn't exist.
Do you believe
painting pictures of needs that don't exist? It's because they're playing these contracts without looking at them for what they really are. And of course, people aren't filling them out for who they really are. All these contracts placating you're a trustee, therefore you got to follow the rules just like they do.
believe that this facility should still be operating?
Absolutely not.
Are you afraid to get help now?
Absolutely. I always will be.
You can find the full statement from Acadia Healthcare on our website, WFLA.com.
And so what we have again is situations where if we don't learn ourselves the processes and procedures and authorities for what they can and can't do, they will do what they think they can get away with in all at all turns, in every turn. Okay, you want to know how dangerous this internet really is?
You want to see it? Yeah, let's do it. So basically what you're doing is you're taking a photo of me. It's going to do the facial recognition and find every image on the internet that has my face in it, whether I'm tagged in it or not.
Yes.
Like it's strict. You could find my face in the middle of the Super Bowl stadium.
As long as it's on the internet. So yeah, let me take a picture and send it to myself. Okay. So I took a picture of your face and
is a really good looking man right there.
Amazing. You can go through these and see if there's anything that's not, I don't know if there's going to be anything that you don't want on there or not, but if you click them, it will give you a link to where that picture's hosted at. But remember, I used a picture that was never on the internet to find those photos of you. So it measured your face, it measured 120 points on your face, associated a picture that's never touched the internet. You want to
The facial recognition is astounding, folks. But again, that's just Big Brother keeping an eye on you. I urge you to understand the importance of defeating an opponent without fighting as a supreme excellence is by using his own weapons against him, particularly when they're nonviolent weapons such as this. Learn how to create things, learn how to distinguish them as your own, so they can't be used against you. And granted, this internet, like I said, remains dangerous no matter how creative and no matter how protective you are. There's going to be somebody that's going to be smarter and going to find a different way around it. All kinds of viruses and Trojan horses and things like that. So be very careful on this internet. 5 inspiring things about Katharine Hepburn. And this goes to the feminist movement and the fact that women moving out into the public environment in certain characteristic roles and playing a large part in what we have with today's modern society as it relates to that popularity contest and Barbie and Ken.
Here's 5 inspiring facts about the legendary Katharine Hepburn. First up, she holds the record for the most Oscar wins by an actress. 4 in total. Second, she wore trousers long before it was fashionable.
Long before it was fashionable. Ladies, St. Katharine Hepburn and certain other ladies in the western cowboy ranges that wore denim so they could ride a horse. Instead of riding side saddle in their feminine dresses, they started dressing with men's clothes so they could start doing men's jobs on the ranches, as well as playing particular men-type roles in movies and theater.
Making a bold statement for women everywhere. Also, did you know she performed her own stunts, showcasing her incredible dedication to her craft? Moving on, she had a 26-year career with Spencer Tracy, creating one of Hollywood's most beloved on-screen pairs. And finally, she was an advocate for women's rights.
She was one of the first advocates for women's rights. And notice all the masculinity in her. That's what pushes feminine rights. Women that don't want to be women anymore. They want to be out in the world like men. Men, you're supposed to protect them. You should be the one setting your house in order and picking a woman that will stay at home where you want her. Or if you really do want her out in that public environment, you damn well better be able to protect her. You're the man. Better start making wise choices. Remember, ladies, you didn't have your feminist rights in that 19th Amendment other than but men. See, it was men that filled Congress, Senate, House. Women weren't in government. So again, it was the men that allowed for your vote to count.
And wasn't afraid to speak her mind. Katharine Hepburn, a true trailblazer in every sense.
Absolutely. Look at that wide, thick jaw. Masculine even in her appearance. Here we got one. He's going to get shot. He's going to get shot.
This kid stole a car and then drove it home to his mama's house.
Stole a car. He's a minor. And then drove it home to mama's house. So again, I want to know where dad is at first and foremost. And if dad's not around, pay attention to what mom does. Mom acts like dad. Look how she stands up for this child as if though she's a man. Because there's no man around to do so. So if there's no man around to act like a man, she does the best she can, but she's got the effeminate emotional side to it as her support foundation. It doesn't work, ladies. You can't be a man without using your reason and logic. Men do their best to stay out of their emotions for that. It's dangerous. Most men recognize this.
Before you get arrested, you need to go in the house. Everything's under control. You need to go in the house, ma'am.
I want my son in my house now.
That's some Karen behavior right there.
Got a phone. Her son's in a stolen car. They got guns pointed. She's got a phone. One of her daughters is with her. Does this look like women that are afraid of men standing there with guns? That's insanity, people. That's the overpowering, toxic masculinity that I talk about, whereas other people think it's a male trait. I think it's a feminine trait, where women become toxically masculine.
Guns pointed directly at him.
Hands up. Keep your hands up. Face away from us. Face away. Walk back to us.
Hands up. Hands up. Keep your hands up.
So defiant, dude. It starts with the mom. There are guns pointed at you. Follow directions.
You're going to jail. I see the vision all of your eyes. You need those guns. Unload that.
This story has the craziest twist. Check out the related video down below.
Unload it. Unload that fucking bitch. See, a real man doesn't stand there and do that, folks. That's the insanity running through that family because there's no daddy in the household and mama takes over with their toxic masculinity. And it makes me wonder if mama wasn't already raised with that toxic masculinity. Like I said, it's a generational thing. It grows and grows and grows. And this woman seems to be so toxically masculine that she was probably raised with that toxic masculinity by her own mom. And that's why she drove the man in her house away. Had a baby, had some children by him, and drove him out. Said, I don't need a man. You needed him to have them goddamn children. Here's one that just says, true story.
Well, I got pulled over the other day. The deputy comes to the window. He says, ma'am, do you know why I pulled you over? I said, no, I don't know why you pulled me over. He said, you're going 74 and a 55. I said, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I was just listening to Taylor Swift. Got away from me. He said, well, I need to see your license. I said, I don't have that. He said, well, I need to see your registration. I said, I don't have that either. And I said, don't be looking in my glove box because I got a weapon in there and I got a dead guy in the back. I just shot him. So he's running away. He's going to call backup, right? He's got police officers coming up everywhere. They're crowding the car. Well, the big man comes up to the window and he says, "Ma'am, I need to see your license." So I presented him with my license and he says, "I need to see your registration." I grab the registration. I give it to him and he says, "Ma'am, my deputy called in, said you don't have a license, registration. You got a dead guy in the back. You got a weapon in the glove box. What's going on?" I said, "That is crazy. He probably was lying and saying that I was speeding too." And he said, "Yeah, he did." He said, "Ma'am, you have a great day." And I said, "Thank you very much, officer. I will."
And just a little comedy there, folks. I hope you enjoy. And just a reminder there, all these toxic videos that we're playing, I'm urging everybody to get out of your empathy and apathy or sympathy and learn how to use the apathetical perspective in viewing these and understand that this is an educational thing. I don't want you to get involved in the drama. I don't want you getting overly emotional. I don't want you watching these kind of videos hours on end and having it have an emotional effect on you. The basic simplicity is being able to observe objectively outside of it so you can use it as a learning tool for your own experiences if you run across situations like this. If you have to be a mom and dad and you have children in school and you find out for some reason that school is registering children to vote, you might want to get a little bit more involved, or you might want to detach wholly. And that's that apathy I'm talking about. Get out of the emotions of sympathy and empathy and learn how to be apathetical about things and get down to the reason and logic and stick to that course. That's where we're losing out to this insanity, is we lose our spirituality because we don't stick to the course. So let's get back to it. The next one, George Carlin on race. This is an oldie and goodie, so pay attention. It still stands today. It's very simplistic logic and reason, like I said.
Rarely black. I see mostly various shades of brown and tan, and black people are rarely black. I see mostly various shades of brown and tan, and in fact, some light-skinned black people are lighter than the darkest white people. Look how dark the people in India are. They're dark brown, but they're considered white. May I see the color chart, please? People of color is an awkward phrase that obscures meaning rather than enhancing it. What shall we call fat people? People of size? I also don't say African Americans. I find it cumbersome and confusing. Which part of Africa are we talking about? Egypt? Egypt is in Africa, but Egyptians aren't black. They're like the people in India. They're dark brown white people, but they're Africans. So why wouldn't an Egyptian citizen who becomes an Egyptian who becomes a U.S. citizen be called an African American? The same would apply to South Africa. Suppose a white racist from South Africa becomes an American citizen. Couldn't he call himself an African American?
We have a perfect example in Elon Musk. Now, I'm not saying he's racist, communist, or anything, but the theory applies to, people like such. So what are you really using when you say those words? It's important to understand what you're speaking.
If for no other reason than just to bother black people.
If for no other reason than to just trigger people. Okay, here's one. He went after his phone.
Move Bill Maher's liberal credentials after this.
Oops.
I think the left might remove Bill Maher's liberal credentials after this one.
There's a long list of liberal celebrities who swear they'll go if a Republican is elected, and no one ever does. Miley Cyrus once said, "I am moving if Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." Here she is looking miserable, having to endure America at the Grammys.
She does look miserable, doesn't she? She looks so miserable that she wants to leave if we end up with a Republican president. Welcome back, Russ.
Thank you, brother. I don't know, my internet connection must suck or something to keep that. But thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Let's continue on here at the Grammys. She's having a wonderful time, winner and everything, and oh my goodness, she's she's got it so rough she's got to leave if we have a Republican president.
Last Sunday, in 2016, Eddie Griffin said, if Trump wins, I'm moving to Africa. Apparently very slowly, because in Trump's 4 years, he only got as far as Van Nuys.
The insolence of these people that make those kind of comments because they think they're famous and people will listen to them, but then they don't follow through with their actions. Right, Russ?
Absolutely. And what's comical here is he's cracking jokes on the other party, but he's in bed with all of them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what these platforms are all about. They get to play sides when they want to. And it's funny when certain people will get up there and they want to do an interview with them and they trip them up and catch them in their double tongues. It's funny stuff. That's why I say you gotta learn how to pay attention to these news media outlets and these entertainment sites and stuff, because they're all out there for propaganda only. That's it.
That's what I kind of focus on. I'll actually sometimes, like that Kentucky case where that sheriff shot that judge up there in Letcher County.
Yep.
They're sitting there talking about that, and then the judge he's sitting there talking, and he said, well, the district attorney, the state's attorney will have to prove their case. First, he said the county attorney. So, hey, listen, they all work together, folks. Don't think they don't.
Yeah, yeah.
George Lopez once said that if Trump won, he won't have to worry about immigration. We'll all go back. George Lopez still here. And it doesn't look like the migrant traffic is going back.
Absolutely. He makes good points there. And again, this goes to the fact that, do you really think your vote counts? I mean, think about it, folks. It doesn't change in any way unless they want it to change, and they want it to change in their favor. What do you think all the migrants are all about? It's to replace the workforce and the critical infrastructure employment processes that they need to make sure that the new credit system works. Americans are waking up. They're becoming divested in themselves and creating their own businesses and becoming privatized and creating their own small little self-sufficient communities and stuff. They need an influx of immigrants. That's why they're doing this. So the next one, Chase's mom takes on PEMDAs. This is the math problem I was talking about you earlier.
The problem.
This here is a teacher, and she's got a thing on the board here, 100 divided by 4 times 2 plus 3. Watch how this teacher explains this and the impossibility. This is profound that we have a teacher like this in the public education system, folks. I'm going to let it play through in full. Pay attention and tell me what is wrong with the way this teacher is teaching it according to the way you learned it.
Let's look at the problem. 2 plus 3, parentheses go first. What is 2 plus 3, class? 5. Now, to keep this from looking like 45, we have to put a holding symbol that looks like a parentheses here, okay? Let me tell you, this is not a parentheses. In order for it to be a parentheses, there's something on the inside that has to be done. There is nothing there to do. This means multiplication. Therefore, we got so many people that's trying to say 4 times 5 is 20, and saying 100 divided by 20 is 5. That's not the case. Now we have division and multiplication. You go from left to right, whichever one shows up first, you do first. 100 divided by 4 is 25. Times 5 gives us 125. Class.
You guys see that? How is it you take a number and you divide it by something without decimals, without fractions, and come up with a number larger than the number you divided. It's an impossibility. This is one of the reasons that my platform is against the public education system. Not only is it the public education 1st through 12th grade, kindergarten through 12th grade, but evidently we have colleges out there that will pass and certify teachers like this. 100 on one side of the equation of the division sign, divided by 4. And the parentheses means multiplication. So you do the plus first inside the parentheses, as she said. That's 5. Then you do the multiplication. You do it in reverse like you would the English language to make sure that it reads forward and backwards. It's logic. There's an order to it. So when you take the 5 times the 4, that equals 20. Now you have a set equation of 100 divided by 20 equals 5. This is why I urge you to get your children out of this public education system. They certify people like this, and it can only be because of diversity, equity, and inclusion, where they would include somebody because of their gender and their skin color, because they have no other person to fill it that would otherwise be qualified.
See, Keith, that's my problem too, with not just the education system, but the whole financial system as a whole.
Absolutely.
As a whole. So obviously this is what our money has been spent on, and we've obviously, you know, throughout time have obviously allowed this, but we're going to have to rein this in.
Absolutely. And that's the political venue, everything. It permeates everything. This diversity, equity, inclusion is not good. If you want somebody to fill a position, the qualifications need to be met. You cannot say, well, we don't have enough people qualified to fill it because there are not enough black people. No, you can't do that. You have to have qualifications. I don't care what color the skin of the pilot is, as long as he's qualified. But when you start saying that the skin color is a qualification, I can no longer trust you.
Well, see, that's another thing too. I mean, see, I've come to learn, I've come to actually accept that everything outside of oneself is an adaptation that one chooses to either hold on to because they find value in it, or to let go of it because there is no value in it. But there is obviously certain people that have adopted those certain value, those certain holdings that hold the real value, and that's that Spirit of God.
Yeah, that's why I talk about set thine house in order. You have to have a man that is servant to the Lord.
And
now,
see,
a woman that has a man that's a servant to the Lord, but still is an alpha man and imposes his life as a servant to the Lord, and that's what makes him the alpha. That's the first step I think a woman needs to see in being able to have that righteous provider and protector. And I think, again, that's the man's fault. Inherently, I think it's all our fault, men. We're not standing up to being men first.
Right, and then, you know, and why I brought that up, Keith, is because I saw some things on different types of monarchies. Obviously, we got the sovereignty and everything, and then you got those monarchies. But there was one type of monarchy was called an absolute monarchy. And it's set for life. And there's where it's something that I looked at in a way, just what you said, we're God. It's man, but guided by that spirit of God.
Yeah,
So
once you
look at
relinquish
all
that,
of this shit we've been taught, and if there is absolutely a case that, I mean, why aren't we running? I believe that to be our founding, but
well, yeah, and when anybody relinquishes that inherent connection to a higher power, I call it the source of life, the thing that is our very creation and our very existence in every moment, then they've assumed too much power, and that's an assumption.
absolutely.
It's not that you actually have the power, it's an assuming that you have the power, and that's a problem. A lot of people, a lot of guys like to act like the beta or the alpha male, but in reality they're beta cut corporate male. They're a boss. That's a limitation to your alpha position. You're still servitude to a fictitious corporate entity.
And I think too, Keith, what's a big detriment out here in the YouTube streets and all of this popularity contest and everything, when these people say, we'll show the proof and show your success. I think that, these people are evil people. So I think the key to everyone's success would be that ability to respond and step up and put yourself in that position and tell them you're not their slaves no more.
Right. That's what this next clip is.
Okay.
Perfect segue. My Fourth Amendment. No ID, no freedom.
That's where we're at.
Well, we're asking you to leave.
You can't do that.
If you won't provide ID, I'm not asking you whether you think I can.
You can't.
Just letting you know.
It's unlawful.
Okay.
You can't.
And
do
I'm
that.
going to ask Lieutenant Martin to trespass you.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. See, they're not even supposed to be requiring you to do anything. This is a matter of public accommodation, open to the public and open to the people. Most pertinently, the very people that are supposed to maintain the oversight. And you're denying the oversight, you facetious little fucking beta cuck corporate motherfuckers. Excuse my language. But this is sickening. Again, the public education system doesn't do enough. That we have this 60-year-old man standing here denying the First Amendment and our responsibility to maintain oversight over his dumb ass.
Well, it's an unlawful trespass. You're opening the school up to civil litigation. I will
do what you need to do.
And I'll get your deposition.
You do what you need to do.
Are you signing the trespass?
Once she provides it to me,
Is your name going to be on it? Okay, so
whatever she says.
So you'll be in court and you'll be in court, right? So you lose your qualified immunity, and I can sue you personally.
I'm really not asking.
See, very important point there. Will your name be on it? Will you be the one signing it? Yes, and they're both going to be in court, and that means they lose their qualified immunity because they signed. They signed in their official capacity, saying they're doing what their job tells them. And when they find out that they're not doing what their job tells them, that they're in breach of contract, and because of that breach of contract, it changes the whole financial scheme, it could be seen as laundering money for their own will, for their own emoluments, not wanting to do the true job that they're paid to do, and obfuscating and still getting paid.
Well, see, again, I think that's where right there people need to communicate better and get more serious about this shit and get out of these popularity states, right? In that state of mind or whatever they're in. Because again, right here, we should just be able to get your supervisor down here, have a discussion with that supervisor to either further this gentleman's training or get him out of here, because this is not the image of the principles that we have laid down and established here in America. It's not a proper representation, and it's not a good look.
Correct, especially for especially for the public education system. Aren't you supposed to be educating? And here you are denying that very education through the First Amendment.
I'm just telling you.
I'm telling you that you're violating my rights.
We're asking you to leave.
You're violating my first. This is my First Amendment right. Hope you're happy violating a member of the public's civil rights. So
what I'm telling you is that someone that comes in this building, you need to provide ID.
According to policy.
There is no law that says you have to provide ID for public accommodation. None. And that's what we're talking about here. It's a public building open for public accommodation to the public. Okay? Nowhere does it state they have to show an ID in order to gain access to that public accommodation. In fact, your policy is so far out of a line with the law that it is criminal.
Register a child.
What law is that?
I'm not going to debate it with you.
You're right. You're not going to, because it's not a law. I'll give you a hint. It's not a law. I'm not.
Yeah, he doesn't know because it's not a law. Otherwise, they would be prepared with the law, particularly as an educator, showing that he is educated. Instead, they're just doing their job, showing their ignorance, as I've said many times. Their ignorance so profound that they are willing Hitler's executioners. The next one, another cop that's in control of the situation.
This cop pulled a lady over, and she decided to record the whole interaction. It's a fundamental constitutional right to film the police in public, but did the cop respect her rights and carry on with his day?
Oh, this is the same one. Let's see.
Or did he escalate the situation out of control?
Put your purse on the driver's seat. Unbuckle your seatbelt. Let me see your phone.
No, I'm going to hold my phone.
You're not holding
I am going to hold my phone because I have my rights. My mom worked for the sheriff's department. She's still working.
Yeah, this is just another clip of the same one we saw earlier. The guy trying to tell her that he's going to take that phone. He doesn't want her to hold that phone, and then actually reaches in and takes it from her.
Yeah, and her the passenger.
Yep. Now, this is another one. I remember watching one here a few weeks back where the gal came home and destroyed or deleted her man's online account that had over $400,000 worth of value to it. And she deleted it. $400,000 account. And she deleted it because she didn't have enough. And that is what he used to give her everything she wanted. And because it wasn't enough, you know, she wasn't getting enough private time or something, she decided to delete the account and then thought he was going to be okay with it and they were going to continue having a relationship. Wow. So this goes to the same kind of insanity. And this has nothing to do with, and this isn't anywhere near as big as, you know, the private time and $400,000. This is actually even greater for something even smaller.
Talk about a narcissist burning down their own house.
Absolutely. Same thing here. Watch this. It says, I put sesame oil in my boyfriend's food when he's allergic because he threw away my rose toy. Threw an inconsequential toy away, a rose toy. So she gives him sesame oil, which he is allergic to. Has to have an EpiPen.
Look at the evil in this world, son. It's just, I tell you, it's crazy.
Sesame oil. Okay, open sesame.
You're joking. You're joking. You did not put sesame oil in this.
You threw away my rose toy.
Oh, my spooky sister in Christ! Every rose has its thorn.
I did not throw away your rose toy.
You threw away my rose toy.
Prove it. You can't prove anything. I didn't throw away your rose toy.
It was in the trash.
You must have put it there. I don't know how it got there. Did you actually put sesame in this?
You threw away my rose toy.
Care about something else?
I need an EpiPen. I don't have any EpiPens.
You threw away my rose toy.
You Toys R Us Diamond member!
Dude, you're kidding. I had an EpiPen like a long time ago. I don't know where the...
Maybe I took it.
I am angrier than a beaver in a pond full of printer paper.
I can feel my throat closing up.
You threw away my rose toy.
I'm screaming with so much fervor!
It's a rose toy. Who gives a shit? You don't need it anyway.
What do you mean I don't need it? I need it.
What you need is a...
So fixated on a rose toy. I mean, this is delusion, folks. A rose toy. I don't care what kind of rose toy it is. It's a rose toy. It's a toy. Self-admitted toy. has an extrinsic and intrinsic value. I agree. But it can't be so valuable that you're willing to kill the very man that you profess to love. How fucking insane is this?
And just think, that individual could be a social worker.
Absolutely.
Could be a
Tranquilizer in the
judge.
butt cheek. They need to treat you like a rabbit.
Yeah. They need to treat you like a rabid snow leopard and put you down. Excuse my language. Here we got another one of Charlie Kirk flipping the script on a feminist.
That we live in a patriarchy and it negatively affects women?
No.
No.
Yeah. So, for example,
Yeah.
men are more likely to commit suicide,
Yeah.
more likely to die at work, more likely to declare bankruptcy.
I believe that we live in a patriarchy and it negatively affects women?
No.
No.
Yeah. So, for example,
Yeah.
men are more likely to commit suicide,
Yeah.
more likely to die at work, more likely to declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Women are far less likely to be in credit card debt, far more likely to graduate from college,
Yeah.
far more likely to get a high-paying job.
What's
People
a
that-
man and woman to you? What's the difference between them?
Well, a man you're looking at a man, and I think I'm looking at a woman, if I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah. That was
and-
funny.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
I believe that we live in a
See, this is their delusion. And I'm not saying every woman's delusion, but the women that look at things like this as if though this society harms them. Excuse me? Everything that was built today was literally built for women by men. Even in the public venue, it was built by men for men, but they took in consideration that they wanted women there with them, so they built it for women because otherwise it's boring to be around nothing but men. They made this society to include women, and it wasn't good enough. Pretty soon you're going to find out they're going to shove you right back home where you belong, pregnant and barefoot in the kitchen. Do you understand? They're going to go back to protecting you. Is that if that's what you really want? Keep pushing it. Your toxic masculinity is overblown, ladies. Go ahead.
Well, I was about to say, Alicia, I thought she took the flip pretty good, but who knows? I don't know if there's more to it or not.
Well, she giggled at it. She had no
Yeah.
comebacks or nothing. She had no
Yeah.
opposing stats, nothing.
Yeah. Well, it's hard when they flip it on you.
Well, yeah, especially when you run your mouth and don't know what you're talking about because you're running out of your feelers.
'Cause
There's
you
no
wasn't
facts and
prepared.
logic. Exactly. There's no facts and logic.
You didn't shoot yourself worthy.
Now, here's one. This guy is just insane. And again, it goes to the public education system. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're including insane people because they have to. Watch.
Why are these woke teachers so easy to trigger, and why are they so aggressive?
You touch me with that, you're dead.
Yes, my name is Henry Gardner, and I work at the trunk store on Post Road,
Hit me with that,
and
you're
I got a
fucking
guy
dead.
out here threatening.
See, I believe we did a review on this guy before. He's got another video that he put up. And we'll see a short clip of that at the very end of this one. So you might recognize it if you've seen the previous video. But he's a transgender himself that's a professor of some sort. And he took some time off because of homophobia and his depression and this and that. And he's so woke that he won't even pay attention to his own mental delusion.
In my life, he's got a piece of wood trying to hit me. He's trying to tear my signs up. I had 1565 Post Road. Happy try.
You're going to jail, bud.
Happy try.
School teacher, and I'm currently out on sick leave owing to injury in performance of job-related tasks in the workplace.
And his injury is that he got emotional because his students were slinging homophobic slurs and shit.
Caused by classroom transphobia and homophobia.
Make sure to leave a like in this video, and if you haven't yet,
So He had to take time off because his feelers got hurt. We have to stop this, people. You have to learn how to, if you're going to work in this environment, this man's environment where it's a man's world, even you ladies, you have to learn how to leave your fucking emotions at home. Enter this world with an apathy like I tell you about these videos. And real quick, I want to remind everybody, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And remember, when you're watching these videos, get into that capacity of having apathy, detaching from your sympathy and empathy. Get out of your feelers so you can look at this stuff objectively for what it is and look at the true foundation of what's being said and done. Come out of the delusion. The next one, Candace stalks the internet, drops a bombshell. Candace Owens, folks.
Small things make a real impact in the world. When you choose the giving puppet.
Yeah, I got any show for y'all. Yeah. What Candace talking about? Candace investigating the what's the word? Genealogy of Kamala Harris's family. Kamala's in trouble because trying to figure out if she's black or not. Because Candace, she FBI and CIA. Check out this video.
Can't find any evidence that Kamala Harris is black. So first, let's start with just Kamala Harris's birth certificate. In the bottom there, you can see that it says that her father's name is Donald Jasper Harris and that the color or the race of the father is listed as Jamaican. So you can be Jamaican, you can grow up in Jamaica and not be black. Obviously, it's like Elon Musk, like he was born and raised in Africa. It would be.
As we spoke of earlier, same concept applies. Just because you claim Jamaican doesn't mean you're Jamaican. What about all the people in the United States that claim to be American? You know, African American. What about the German Americans, Italian Americans, Scottish Americans, Chinese Americans? How come none of those ethnical groups or genealogical groups, whatever you want to call them, how come they don't make those claims? How come it's just African American? What is it with this fucking language that people don't understand?
Absurd for Elon Musk to say that he was black because he is not black. He is a white African. This is an alleged photo of Beryl Christie Harris, okay?
A white African, but still an African American. You see the delusion in the term African American? Everybody thinks that African American is absolutely black. No, it's not. Understand what you're speaking so that when you speak it, you know what you're saying.
Kamala is the one that entered this into the public domain in her book. She wrote, "Visiting my paternal grandmother, Beryl, in Jamaica." Okay. Beryl was born in 1921 and she died in 1960.
1960. She died in 1960, folks.
Who was she visiting?
Well, pay attention, yeah. If Grandma died in 1960...
is when Kamala was born.
And Kamala was born in 1964. How can this be a picture of Kamala with her paternal grandmother? This is in her own writing. This is in her book. Kamala's book. She wrote for this picture that was her paternal grandmother. We know that to be a lie, a public and published lie, according to the record.
Her grandmother died in 1960. So who is that woman that is in the photo with Kamala? There's something weird here.
No, it's not weird. It's a lie. Simple as that. Simple as that. It's a lie. Learn how to tell what these people are telling you as lies as they are. And again, I'm telling you, people, don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. That's what I like about Candace. She does research, and she does it well. Next one, another whatever.
So in other words, sexism itself, I'm not sure is immoral in and of itself if it's indicating a behavior that you're trying to avoid. Wouldn't it be sexist, for instance, for you at night to walk across the street if a group of men are moving towards you?
Yes, I would not change what I was doing if I saw a group of women. If I saw a group of men, I would be a million times more likely that I'm going across.
So are you sexist?
For my own protection.
For my own protection, yes. Again, it's inherent that we be this way through certain conditions, and we've been conditioned. This is that aspect, one of those questions they ask these ladies, along with to rate themselves and this and that. They ask them, would they rather be found in the woods alone with a bear or a man, and they choose a bear. This is profoundly insane. When you look at the inherent foundation of our roles in society, what we have today is far off base from the traditional. This is why these traditional platforms are coming back up. Men want their traditional lives back. It's much easier to maintain than this chaotic, emotional DEI bullshit.
Well, look at the detriment on that alone to just the children, what that's teaching the children about the men.
Absolutely, both men and women.
I mean, I've been in some deep research, you know that, Keith, but when you go back to see when they started destroying the families and the men and the divorce rates and all of that, I mean, there's no doubt what's been done, and there's no doubt that all this shit is evil.
Well, yeah, and that's, in my own generation, my mom came from a family of 10 children. My dad came from a family of 14. They together had a family of 5, got divorced, went on to have more families. However, each and every one of their children went on to have families of 3 children or 2. One went on to have a family of none, and I'll be damned if not all of those families have been broken up since. None of our families have stood. I am the end of my legacy, the Conradi legacy on my dad's side. Granted, he's got other brothers that will continue that Conradi legacy through them, but I am the last leg of my dad's part. There's no more male children. I am the last. So the best I can hope for in my providence of grace of putting forth as a child of God, that true patriarch, is to at least do the best I can to continue learning about my own aspect of fatherhood, whether it be to my own children or other children, the future generations, and the other fathers and mothers that are failing in it now, only to hopefully help them move forward. I'm not trying to do this to put anybody down. Like when I say, when I call people bitch-ass slaves, I've been the bitch-ass slave. I've been the fucking fool. I've been the jester. I've been the mischievous one. It's time to get over it, grow up, and understand the important reality of our imperative self-appreciation even is not to be hedonistic, but to be a legacy for those that come after us. We have to stop being that selfish, self-centered, end of the story hero and famous star. It's not a 15 minutes of fame. That's what this world would like you to believe in, though, in that popularity contest.
Yes.
For your own protection, in that case, yes, I will be sexist. Okay. I'm sexist towards this group, even though most people in this group aren't going to do this.
And I, in the same sense, you want to look at it as sexist all you want. I will be very masculine and alpha in expressing the truth. I don't care about your feelers. I believe more heavily in tough love than any other kind of love, because love is tough. It is not gentle at all times. It is very tough. Many times. We have to understand the different levels of love is not to be so soft and cushy and all this and that, but more realistically to be true to what is real.
You know, Keith, if I may, when you were talking about that whole popularity contest and everything, and the way we see that today, You know, I was running through my history a little bit, and Earl Combs played for the Yankees in 1920s. And I come to find they used the term, he was enshrined into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. So I went to look up the word enshrine to see what it exactly means, and to break it down into two words, en and then shrine. Obviously, shrine is a repository in which a holy object or the relic of a saint are kept. And so enshrine, enclose, deposit for safekeeping, make, put in. So these legacies, I believe these family legacies are still there.
Absolutely.
No one's stepped up to claim them, or whatever. Whether we even need to claim it, or it's just been hidden from everybody, and this is how they've done it, by turned everybody against one another.
Well, it's to give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto the Father what belongs to the Father. Something was given at birth. The enumeration at birth shows a giving, and it needs to be given back. That's all it is. It's the reversion of what was exchanged in the first place needs to be re-exchanged.
And wouldn't that be considered equal consideration?
Correct.
I don't know why people don't see why this thing's so simple.
Of them will, that I feel like crossing the
Someday.
probably a good idea. And do you think men would blame you for doing that? No, they're like, go across the street. We know that there's predatory men. Yeah.
See, we're the ones willing to admit to the logic and reason of why you act the way you do in certain things. But when we speak up and say it's illogical to act that way in other things, you refuse to listen, because we've already granted you your feminist rights and all of this and that. You've become so emboldened that has created this toxic masculinity amongst your feminist movement. It goes against your very feminine character, ladies. So here's one.
So I was just trying to record a video
To show you how simple it is, ladies. You may want to do something simple at home, but it's going to be very difficult because there are certain things you don't know of because you left it to the man. It's a man's job to do that, but we don't need men, so I can do anything a man can do. So then you go get the things that the man used to do the things the man needs to do, but you fail to learn how to use them.
of me like saying that I didn't need a man to like help me hang something on the wall, and it's this round mirror. Here, I'll show you my setup. Okay, so this is like the setup. Like I had everything out, right? Like that's the mirror I'm gonna hang up, and I wanted to hang it right here, and I measured it out and everything. I was doing well. I was doing very well, and then I realized that the mirror is like really heavy, so I have to. I don't know if they're called like anchors or something, but like I need an anchor. Sorry, they're doing construction next door. But anyways, I don't know. I thought that I knew what I was doing, and then I had to take the drill out, and then there's nothing in there, and I can't get anything in there. So I don't know. I guess I do need a man.
Ladies, it's very simple. We can even teach you how to use those tools. But when you refuse to listen to a man, when he wants to help you incorporate into his life, if that man is setting his house in order and you refuse to stand with him, you stand against him. And just by saying you don't need a man, you're saying you stand against all men. You prove yourself to be misandrist. That's insane, ladies. That's pure insanity. Now here goes another one in those public buildings as far as the rights, public accommodation and stuff. So let's take a look.
Turn your camera off. Who are you? Who are you, sir? I'm the court administrator. Turn it off.
I just want
Turn
to
it
know who you
off.
are. What's your name?
Turn it off.
What?
Do you see the difference between?
Watch what he admits to, Russ. This is a court. You know, he's taken upon that title, court administrator, right?
I heard it.
Difference between you and the woman that just came out here?
I'm going to tell you one more time, and then you
What's
can
your
be
name, sir?
arrested.
Arrested for what?
Disorderly conduct, obstructing official business.
I'm not obstructing anything. This is my
Yes,
First
you are.
Amendment right. You're not even a law enforcement officer,
You
sir.
don't have a First Amendment right in this building.
Of course I do.
You're not.
I don't know why it's buffering like this.
He's got a little feminine whisk there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Turn your camera off.
Who are you?
allowed to record in here.
Who are you, sir? Enforcement officer,
You
sir.
don't have a First Amendment right in this building.
Of course I do.
You're not allowed to.
This is not the
record.
United States of America?
Turn it off.
Are you a law enforcement officer, sir?
Yes. Yes.
You catch it?
He's not a law enforcement.
Yeah, he just admitted he's a court administrator, right?
Yeah.
These people are dumb. This is narcissism at its best.
You are a law enforcement officer, so you can effect arrests?
Yes. Turn it off.
I would like to speak to the bailiff downstairs.
I'd like to speak to the bailiff downstairs. See, the bailiff will say otherwise, won't he? See, the bailiff, folks, is the surety. For the court, while they're in business, the bailiff is the surety. That's why you hand him the documents in those courtrooms to hand to the judge.
Speak to an actual law enforcement
I'm a
officer.
court administrator, and I'm also a law enforcement officer.
I'm a court administrator, and I'm also a law enforcement officer. Really, you take a dual
Wearing two
title.
hats?
Yeah, you're wearing two hats, huh? Exactly. See what we're talking about, folks?
Sort of like the county prosecutor that's selling the children.
Yep, absolutely. They're selling the children, and the children is the documentation, and the documentation is attached to the living souls that they presume are subject to that documentation. These people are thieves, kidnapping children, committing RICO, money laundering left and right.
How are you a law enforcement officer and a court administrator?
Why does that concern you?
Because impersonating a law enforcement officer is
Because impersonating a law enforcement officer is a crime, sir. This court administrator, folks, understand what this man just did.
Yes, sir.
He committed a felony on video. Let me make sure you understand. This man just committed a felony on video, known as impersonating an officer, which is a crime. As an officer of the court, he is an administrative officer, not an enforcement officer. So,
crime, sir.
Then you can go file charges against me.
And that's exactly what I would do. I would take this video and go file charges against him.
That's Long Island, isn't it?
It says Long Island on it, but I don't know if it's his video. It says, I'm a law enforcement officer. No, you are not. You just admitted to be a court administrator. You're in court administrative outfit. You are not a uniformed officer of enforcement. Language is specific, folks, and it is plain in government document. This man is an administrator of the court, and under that hat, he cannot have a dual position as an officer of the court or a law enforcement officer. You're either an officer of the administration or an officer of the enforcement or an officer of the legislation or an officer of the executive. Oh, here we got a nice one. This is the insane level of people not taking responsibility. And again, mind you, the age of this woman.
Excuse me? Hello?
Yes?
What the hell are you doing?
You know, we've got a little problem here, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if you've noticed, but we all lost power last night.
I don't know if you've noticed, but we all lost power last night. That's why he's charging his car now, ma'am.
What on earth are you doing powering your bloody Tesla?
Well, I'm charging it, love.
You and your electric vehicle.
You're literally trying to damage my car.
Well, maybe you should take responsibility for the rest of us.
Did you hear that? Well, maybe you should take responsibility for the rest of us, right? This is the delusion of people. And notice again her age. This is no young idiot. This is a woman that has evidently been fed by the silver spoon all of her life and is so entitled she thinks she has no responsibilities and that everybody else should take responsibility for her and others. Where do you get the authority to say that you have no responsibility? How can you say that? How do you back up your authority to say that you have no responsibility and somebody else has to take responsibility? Sounds like you don't have any authority then, if you have no responsibility. The next one.
Well, I guess they have to have the ability to respond.
Exactly. So where do they get their authority?
There's no way they can have any.
Exactly. So the next one says, I witnessed him begging for his life. Indiana father dies after police.
Well, outrage in Northwest Indiana, as friends and family gathered tonight for a visitation for a father of two. They're demanding answers about how he died during a medical call for help.
Riker Earl's family telling WGN's Jenna Barnes they witnessed him go limp while a police officer held him down.
The only thing I really have right now is anger.
Anger fueling the drive for justice for 26-year-old dad of two, Riker Earl. He died earlier this month after his family says Jasper County, Indiana emergency medical technicians sedated him and police then held him face down for more than 15 minutes during a medical emergency. Earl, his family says, was prone to having seizures. EMTs responded to help him the day of September 8th, and his family says some of the same EMTs returned that evening along with police because a more severe seizure at his home in DeMott, Indiana, prompted his grandmother to call 911.
And she's the one who has reported that he, in trying to put on his shorts to go to the hospital, fell over and bumped into either a police officer or one of the first responders, and that seemed to trigger a change in their behavior to treating him like a criminal at that point instead of a patient.
The family says officers took Earl to the floor, handcuffed him behind his back with his face in a pillow.
Gotten their feelers because somebody touched them inadvertently and they took it as an act of aggression or violence or harm or intent to do harm. This is pathetic. They use every excuse they can to try to get away with violent practices. This is all tactical training. These people don't belong in police enforcement.
Well, you know, here's the sad thing, and I don't know if I should even. You know, the sad thing for me is I truly do feel even sorry for these people that act that way. But on the other hand, I think there's certain levels that, you know, that threat has to be eliminated.
Well, and the only way we'll eliminate that threat again, folks, again, I urge you, you have a republic if you can keep it, but the only way you can keep a republic is the people have to know the law. Absolutely. In knowing the law, we have to be able to maintain the oversight to restrict that despotic enforcement.
So when people talk about all this authority and everything, when some, you know, somebody at some point is going to trigger something.
Well, we the people have to recognize that we the people inherently are the powers that be.
Damn right.
We have to quit relegating that the powers that be tell us we can do this or that. No, we are the powers that be. We've forgotten the power.
There was an officer on the upper part of the backside of his body. I had witnessed him begging for his life.
Earl's aunt says she was in the room as his body went limp.
I was just begging and pleading. He's blue. He's blue, like he's blue. You can tell he's blue. Do something, take his pulse.
She says when first responders did take his pulse, there wasn't one. Earl was taken to the hospital, but tests confirmed he had no brain activity. He was removed from life support on September 10th. The sheriff's office statement from 2 days later makes no mention of the circumstances of Earl's death. It reads that officers responded to a medical 911 call from a residence. And on September.
And it says that on scene and promptly requested assistance from the fire department and sheriff's deputies. Why would an EMS require sheriff's deputies?
Because they're falsifying documents right there.
Well, because they live in fear. If you're an EMS, you're supposed to have wits about you in emergency situations. And when he arrived on scene and promptly requested assistance from the fire department and sheriff's deputies, was he not already equipped to take care that he needed somebody licensed in police enforcement and fire safety? I mean, the EMS is already trained. That's why they arrived in the ambulance.
The office was informed the patient had passed away. The family has hired national civil rights attorney Ben Crump and Indiana attorney Stephen Wagner to investigate what happened, and they're zeroing in on the actions of officers and EMTs. Actions, they say, put Earl at greater risk.
Yeah, the dangers of prone restraint have been known for years to law enforcement. Everybody in the public has known about them since the George Floyd case in May of 2020.
The coroner hasn't yet released Earl's cause of death, but the attorneys are requesting his medical records and the body camera video of the incident to get answers for his family.
He was a 26-year-old man with a whole lot of life ahead of him.
Jenna Barnes, WGN News.
Pathetic shit. Pathetic shit, Russ.
Yeah, it is, man. Such a short life. And what? Leaving two children behind, was it?
Yep.
Disgusting. The very people that's supposed to be there to assist you, call in times of need that you can call and lean on. And that's what
right.
and this is what happens. I mean, I don't know how any grown adult, man or woman, can sit here and justify any of this garbage that is going on YouTube or in the world itself.
Well, the government will justify it with the welfare program, saying that's okay. Mom and children are provided for now. They'll be good. No, they aren't. That's the intent of the system, is to make them dependent upon it. The very destruction of that family base. Come on, people.
You watch James Freeman?
Yeah.
Did you see that latest one where he was over there? I don't know if it was in New Mexico or where he was at D.F.C.P.S. or whatever the hell they call it there. And yeah, with the CPS, basically, I'm just going to say CPS, but they call it something else there. With the CPS director there or whatever, and they even called the local police, and the cops came in and said he can film, and they wanted him to turn around because that's where the buyers pick up. They called them buyer parents or something. And James, what you buyer? And our children that are in state, they're our property.
Yep.
I mean, what do you
remember when they used to get on Carl Lentz about calling his children property?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think he did so? Because that's what the state refers to them as. Helps them clarify that, hey, that's my property. And my property, as I define it, is a child of the children of Israel. Are you stealing one of the children and making merchandise of them? That's kidnapping. You shall be put to death.
See,
So
and
the
I think at some point this is going to, I think if anything's going to get to these people, shit like that will with these children. And I see a lot more of that being exposed now. And
I hope so, because we need to.
Yesterday, last year, 5 years ago, it needed to be done.
Decades ago. That's my platform, folks. That's why I go against this public education system. We need to start raising our children ourselves in the spiritual sense first and foremost. Then we can supplement that spiritual education with a foundational trade education or something. But otherwise, that public education system is tearing up that foundation.
Well, see, I think I mean, this is just me thinking into the future. What I would envision the education system, if not maybe possibly become, further education in the education system to me would be used for furthering technology for the advancement of life forward. That's what education would be to me. I think the basic principles and the roots and the foundation of the family is instilled in that foundation alone, privately.
And that's your foundational legacy of where your children grew up living the same kind of lifestyle that you live, because that's what they learned from you. You taught them. Mm-hmm. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. So what we're looking at today is a modern society that's giving fish, but not teaching people how to fish. And that's the destruction of the legacy. Remember this, remember this, remember this, and you can have this kind of material world, this kind of material gain. You can feed yourself with this and live your life in wealth and health and prosperity. That's a wrong purpose and wrong objective in the spiritual life. Your objective in the spiritual life is to teach your children so they can live a better life than you, not to take advantage of a material gain from the loss of another man in a commercial profiting system. They're two distinct lifestyles, and we've gotten so far away from that natural lifestyle that I don't know if people can get back to it. So anyway, the next one, we got another feminist cries after hearing the truth. This girl might have woke up. I don't know. It seems kind of odd that she might. I think she just went off and sulked. She might have done something harmful to herself the way this ended. I hope not, but pay attention. This is what they face when they have to stand up to their own delusions. And this, again, is not just women. It's men, too. You beta-cuck corporate males that act all fucking alpha, but won't stand up for a fucking thing on a foundational truth. It's all built on your emotions. Come out of her.
First girl, serious advice. You need to stop making decisions and choices. Find a man in your family who is sensible and who really cares about you, and just take their advice seriously. Also, abandon feminism. It's truly poison. Okay, you guys are all just like really misogynistic.
Okay, you guys are all really just like misogynistic. No, you're going to have a hard time facing the truth. Just because you're misandrist doesn't mean everybody else is misogynistic. You have to stand up to your own misandry.
What is misogynistic about his statement? I'm just asking how you define misogyny.
Oh my God, it's so painful. She can't answer a simple question that she posed as an accusation herself. This is why I say, folks, you have to come out of your delusion. You come up on these public platforms like this and can't handle yourself. This is why I tell my companion, no, I don't want you up here on these platforms. You're not strong enough. I do it not as a limitation or anything, but as a protection. And not just a protection against you, but a protection against me. I understand there's a difference between myself and my companion. We're not anywhere near the same level as Andrew and his companion and things like that. We have many things we disagree on, and I'm still trying to educate her slowly but surely. But she still says a lot of stupid shit. She says things out of her emotions.
You know, I've been in this game for a long time. I don't do a lot, but there's a few times that you know, it's pushed the limits with myself alone. So I can relate. You know, it's hard to break almost 56 years of indoctrination and just wipe it out. So continue to show patience, brother. I think it'll all work out. You know, at least you guys are working on it. You know.
Well, yeah, and what better way to prove that I'm not misogynist in that I deal with this stuff daily. You know, if I was a true misogynist, I'd say, fuck it, and go get me the woman that is already built for me. That's not what men are supposed to do. Men are supposed to set their houses in order. That means they have to build their women. They have to build their wives. Some can do it foundationally at the beginning because both sets of families, when they have a man and a woman coming together out of those families, have a foundational set establishment already, and they grew up with like sensibilities. If you don't, you have a more of a build to create, and it's going to take longer. Particularly if those builds don't start till later on in life. We didn't start our relationship until 15 years ago, after we'd already had several other relationships prior. So both of us have bad foundations that we're trying to stabilize.
But you know what's crazy? Money is probably, finances is probably what destroyed most of the foundations of these families throughout the world for decades on top of decades.
Yep. Silver spoon feeding.
Yeah, and I mean, you take a look at that, and I mean, how the one coming from a silver spoon, and then, you know, one that had to, you know, earn everything that they got. I mean, there's a difference, and I sometimes I blame myself, Keith, for leaving Pennsylvania, but I guess when I look back on it, I didn't have much choice with the whole Baker Act and all of that shit, and you know, that was a huge threat there to my safety and my freedom. But you know, I hold no grudges on it because I do realize that, you know what I mean? Those two different upbringings or whatnot, and that whole deal. But once it hit me, because you know, I had a decent flooring business, and you know, I was always a self-made man, and you know, always worked for myself. And you know, once I realized that every one of those was slave notes, and there was no way that I could actually sign my name properly.
Shoes off, belts off, put your stuff on the tray so you can have one.
And create this finances righteously. There was no way for me to do that. I look at all of them as slave notes.
Yeah,
because none of it is created in righteousness. It's all created in self-righteousness, and I can't be a part of it. I can't go out that way, not knowing.
Right, and that's that part: give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give unto the Father what belongs to the Father. And that's why that video earlier, where that gold digger was on vacation and didn't go to the funeral. My God, that's heathen shit there. Heathen, not just hedonistic, but heathen. So let's finish this up and watch how this girl ends it up. Because this is, to me, it seems like this girl, this one question devastated her because it destroyed her whole platform, calling men misogynist for asking such a question, for wanting to mold a woman through good advice and good morals and ethics. Well, that's misogynistic. Really? Oh, I'm so hurt.
Can I go?
Are you okay? Like, do you want to go as in leave? If you want to leave, you can leave. I was hoping we could continue having a conversation, but
she looks like she actually got sick to her stomach there and was almost ready to heave. See, this is such a deep emotional conflict. These kind of women, they don't belong in the streets. They don't belong in your house. They belong back home with mom and dad, or a mom and dad figure that can teach them reality. They are so off base of reality that they've lived their whole lives as a drama queen, thinking everything belongs to them and they are entitled to it. And anybody that disagrees and doesn't put up with their selfish desires is a misogynist. It's pathetic. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
So anyway, finish up the last few seconds here because, like I said, I hope she didn't hurt herself. But look at her reaction. It's so profoundly, deeply emotional over a simple question.
It does look pretty serious.
Do you think that was the first time in her life she was faced with like the truth of and the consequences of her actions? And
I think she was just like gathering like everything she said on here, and it just hit her kind of.
I hope so. I hope it hit her good. I hope it hit her in a good way. And again, like I said, the way she walked off there, she seemed very deeply emotionally disturbed, and I wouldn't want her to hurt herself. I hope she seeks help.
And you know, I somewhat relate to that though, Keith, because when I did, I'm telling you right now, when I realized that those were slave notes and I'd been fooled my whole life and I thought I was somewhat intelligent, you know what I mean? And thought I was a successful businessman. I always created all of that on my own, you know, cold calls and old school, you know. And when it hit me that everything that we do with a stroke of that pen, that's a slave note when it's not done in the image and likeness of our Creator.
Yep, Isaiah 44:5. One shall say, I am the Lord's. One shall call himself by the name Jacob. And another shall subscribe with his hand unto the Lord and surname himself by the name Israel. Now that seems like a fair composition to express a trust. And I would feel very comfortable being able to sign any documents like such, knowing that you can change your name anytime you want.
Well, you know, is it safe to say and pompous that, you know, me, I've kind of changed my attitude on the internet throughout the years. And because I have learned that everything we say and do and create out here is exactly just that, a record. And that is exactly what I am doing every day is I am expressing the trust and I am sharing that with the public.
See, and that's that ability to understand. Never let anybody else write your story with their pen. See, what is done is what ought to be done. There is nothing new under the sun. And this is why I love Hebrews 6:13 or what 6:17 maybe. Accepting that immutable promise to seek his counsel. I'll do that every day. Every day I thank God for the day and thank him because I've been blessed to have a day, no matter how it turned out. Somewhere along the line, I've learned something, gained something, and I'm still here. So I only pray at the end of it to give me one more day. Just like that movie, I can't remember what it was, where the guy saved like 70 men by himself in a day. Going back, he was a medic and didn't carry a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all I can do is pray for one more day. Every day is his. So I pray for another one of his days where he provides me with grace. And that's that footprints in the sand. Because if I get weary and I only see one footprint or one set of footprints, I know it's him carrying me because ain't nobody else out there carrying me. Everybody else out there claims I am going to owe him a debt. So anyway.
See, I never was into the whole religion and everything. Even growing up as a kid, you know, I mean, we were forced to go to church or whatnot from time to time, but it was never anything, we'll say, on a schedule, you know, repeated often. But, you know, I remember on a seven years ago or whatever, you were reading from scriptures and you were talking about that where the land's not for sale. It is mine forever and ever. And I remember sitting there and I'm like, there's no fucking way that says that in that book when that's what we've done our whole entire lives is buy and sell.
Yeah, and that's why I say, you know, when I seek counsel and I look at those scriptures, I don't believe the scriptures. I use the scriptures as what they are, a set of examples that are historically tracked that we can use today. And the law today even recognizes them, despite the fact that they're hearsay. They understand that they are the foundational elements that constructed this nation. So anyway, last words, Russ?
No, brother, it's always a pleasure to be up here with you, and I appreciate the time for sure. And you know, it's always I'm an eager beaver when it comes to learning. Oh, I mean, I'm every day on it, man. And you know, I've got some things I'd really like to share with you on some private time. If you ever got some time, we can do something private or something. Share a few things that I've discovered within my own lineage, we'll say, and that seems to coincide with a lot of shit that has played out within the history. Apparently, you know, there's some serious ties there, and that Earl Combs that was the Yankees, and his whole 11-year career was with the Yankees. He was a center fielder. He was later, he later, after he retired his career from the Yankees, he was the chairman for the Board of Regents at Eastern Kentucky University.
Yeah, that's when we get into those land grant colleges and stuff too.
Yep. And then
is that one of them? Eastern
Kentucky. I haven't looked yet, but
yeah, check that out. Find out.
He died at the age of 77, and then they put his second son, I think it was. There was an Earl Jr. and then Charles, and they after his Earl died, they put Charles as the chairman of the Board of Regents, and the chairman is an occupier of authority. But anyway, he becomes the chairman, and then 1983 in Richmond, Kentucky, him and his wife were slain by gunshot in their home in Richmond, Kentucky in 83. So, you know, there's some deep roots and ties with Bashir, all of them. Tom Wolfe. Who knows? Daddy Divine might be in there too. I don't know, but it's a big document. It's got the Library of Congress and everything. So,
well, get a hold of me, drop me a line, and we'll get together tomorrow or Tuesday or something.
Yeah, I dropped you a couple more things over in your messenger, tying some of that together with Henry VIII and King James and all kinds of shit. But very interesting stuff.
All right.
All right, brother. Much love. Be the change you wish to see, people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Popularity without a positive purpose is pointless and valueless in life.
There you go. All right. Much love, brother. Thanks for stopping up. And I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal link down there if anybody wants to share some love. Always appreciated. And you guys know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see everybody next time.